You're audible.
Yes. Good afternoon, honorable members and the support staff of the committee. Let me welcome everyone to the meeting. I further extend my warm welcome to the MEC, HOD, and the Provincial Commissioner. For honoring our invitation. Honorable members and members of the media and stakeholders, our meeting today we will receive the presentation
of SAPS with me here, the chairperson of the Community Police Forum Board, stakeholders present, members of the media.
So we can't see the
PC, we are requesting that Emawela request a video be on.
Okay, let me just switch it on.
Thank you.
Can you see me now, Chairperson?
Yes, we can see you, PC.
Okay.
You can proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, our MEC for Community Safety, Member Sibuko, management of the South African Police Service with me here, the chairperson of the CPF board, stakeholders present, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and thank you good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity. My team and I will today present to you the provincial crime statistics for the second quarter 2021-2022 financial year, which is July to September 2021. This comes as Police Minister General Bheki Cele released the national statistics for the same period under review last week Friday. Honorable Chairperson and members, you will recall that when I was here in September 2021, I highlighted that moving forward we might face uphill battle in terms of crime picture due to the impact of the risk adjustment strategy and subsequent restrictions per lockdown levels. I further said the interpretation of the crime picture of future quarters need to be contextualized so that the statistics are not misconstrued as the worst performance ever by the police. Honorable members, for the period under review, we continue to observe the impact of the lockdown restriction to the crime patterns. The current crime picture is not as bleak as the previous one, but it is also not something to write home about. We observe some positive and encouraging movement towards the reduction of crime, even though it's not satisfactory. We have to be hard on ourselves in order to realize the Gauteng where people are and they feel safe. The scope of the report covers the serious crime counts recorded in Gauteng during the second quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year, which is July to September. During this period, the country was under the lockdown level 4, 3, and 2. These statistics are compared to a corresponding period in the 2020-2021 financial year, when the country was under the lockdown level 3, 2, and 1. Similar to the preceding quarter, April to June 2021, the comparison will also be made between the current period 2021-2022 and the normal period of 2019-2020, 2 years ago when there was no lockdown. The overall crime picture of Gauteng, as reflected by the 17 community reported crimes during the second quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year, decreased by 1.6%, translating to 1,518 counts, lower in comparison with the same period in 2020-2021. This reduction was brought by the highest decrease recorded by the two crime categories, namely the property-related crime and other serious crime, while the other two categories, which is contact crime and contact-related crime, recorded an increase. Even if we adjust for lockdown level and compare the current period with the normal period of 2019-2020, then the adjusted figure for the 17 community reported crime would have still resulted in a further reduction of 17.3%, which translates to 19,935 counts lower. This is a marginal decrease, and I believe that we could have done much better if it were not the state that we find ourselves in the province, the beginning of July. The unrest we have experienced had a negative impact on our contact-related crime. We cannot say the same for our contact crime, though as Gauteng has always battled with it. Sometimes we manage to reduce and sometimes we do not, as is evident with the comparison as follows. Coming now, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, to the contact crime. The overall category increased by 0.1%, which translates to 57 counts higher than the July to September 2020-2021. In comparison with the adjusted period of July to September 2019-2020, the contact crimes would have resulted in a reduction of 11.0%, which translates to 4,820 counts lower. 4 of the 7 offences within the contact crime category indicated an increase. The highest increase in terms of the actual values was murder with 229 counts more, and assault with intent to cause grave and grievous bodily harm with 212 counts more. Coming to murder, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, for the period under review, 1,320 people were murdered in Gauteng, reflecting an increase by 21.0%, of which is 229 counts more. Among the many other factors that contributed to the increase in murder in Gauteng was the July unrest. However, when we compare to the previous normal period of 2019-2020 financial year, the murder percentage change would have been an 8.7% increase, an increase that is marginally lower than the current period. Out of the national top 30 murder stations, Gauteng had 6 stations featured in the list, of which is Atteridgeville, Alexandra, Ivory Park, Kagiso, GP, and Orange Farm. When I continue with the murder contribution, Honorable Chair and members, from the sample of 1,108 cases, the top 3 contributors of the general increase of the murder established was argument, misunderstanding not related to domestic violence by 95 cases, followed by vigilantism or the mob justice by 39 cases, and robberies, which include house, business, and street robberies by 36 cases. In relation to murders at farms and smallholding, we had 2 incidents, and the victims were the farm owners. Coming to domestic violence, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, domestic violence also contributed 26 cases of murder. A total of 26 cases of murder registered during the current quarter were related to domestic violence, where majority of the victims were male, is 16, and where the females are is 10. Domestic violence were also a big contributing factor in all assault offences. When coming to the place of occurrence for the murder, it was determined that the top 3 common places where these murders are likely to take place are in public places like on the street, open fields, parking areas, and abandoned buildings, whereby we recorded a total of 658 counts. 238 murders occurred at the residence of the victim or the perpetrator, and 47 of the murders occurred at business premises such as malls, restaurants, workplace, office park, place of entertainment. Coming to sexual offences, Honorable Chairperson and members, 2 offences reported under the umbrella sexual offences indicated an increase, namely rape, sexual assault, rape and sexual assault. However, when compared to the previous normal period of 2019-2020 financial year, rape would have resulted in reduction of 7.4%, which translates to 165 counts lower. The top places where these incidents of sexual offences are likely to happen are the following. At the residence of the victim of the perpetrator, we recorded 421. in public places like on the streets, open field, parking areas, abandoned buildings to recorded 131. I have to admit that here we failed to maintain the downward trajectory we had in 2019-2020. That is worrisome for all of us. The increase in both rape and sexual offenses is a challenge that we have to overcome. The Family Violence and Child Protection Sexual Offenses FCS now has a newly appointed provincial head, Brigadier Pumzile Zulu. She has hit the ground running, and we are hoping to see a picture of this crime category decrease. More sexual offenses crime awareness campaign and strengthening of partnership are essential. We need to go out there and to educate women and children how to avoid being a victim of rape and sexual assault. Moreover, discouraging the men from perpetrating this horrendous crime, and those who decide to ignore our advices and warnings be dealt with decisively by our court of law. Temba Policing Precinct in Hammanskraal have overtaken Inanda in KwaZulu-Natal by recording a high sexual offenses incident in the country, which is a disgrace for all of us. As a reminder to the citizens, the following list of policing precincts still feature in the national list of gender-based violence hotspots. That is Alexander, Diepsloot, Dobsonville, Honeydew, Mamelodi East, Moroka, Orangeville, obviously Temba. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, the trio crimes, the two of the crimes reported under the subcategory registered an increase during the current reporting period. That is carjacking by 3.4% and business robberies increased by 1.4%. If we adjust for lockdown level and compare the current period 2021 and 2022 with a normal period of 2019-2020, the only offense which would have reported an increase under the subcategory is carjacking with the adjusted figure of 8.5%. The trio crimes still instill fear in people and rob our communities of their sense of safety. Even though the increase in this crime category is a double digit, this cannot continue. With the early warning system we have in place that showed that we were going to lose this category, we have gone back to the drawing board, adjusted our strategies, and we are starting to see positive results with the recent planned robberies that have been charted. Thanks to the intelligence that is passed to the operatives and our good working relationship with other law enforcement agencies, as well as Business Against Crime, in particular the ICE and ES project. We are hoping to see the picture changing in this crime category going forward. Coming to the cash in transit heist, Honorable Chairperson and members, robbery of cash in transit registered a total of 12 cases between July and September this year, which reflected a decrease of 15 cases when compared to the same period last year. This can also be attributed to the relationship I have outlined above with our partners and other law enforcement agencies. But this does not mean that we have achieved, as we all know that CIT are one of the most aggravated robberies. They are committed with so much violence. This reduction with more than half in numbers show that we are making a notable difference. Coming to the contact-related crime, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, contact-related crimes increased by 8.0%, which translates to an increase of 516 counts more. The two crimes reported under this category, namely arson and malicious damage to property, both increased by 5.3% and 8.1% respectively. And the unrest that occurred in July resulted in the increase of these two categories, and some of the properties were damaged, burned down, and some were destroyed in the process. However, with the adjusted period comparison, this category indicated a decrease of 6.4%, which translates to 478 counts lower. We have all witnessed the repercussion of the July unrest. Even though the recorded increase are just in single digits, everyone felt the impact of those unrest. We have taken valuable lessons out of it, and we can all agree that when we work together, we are able to overcome anything. Coming to the property-related crimes, Honorable Chairperson and members, while all property-related crimes decreased by 8.2%, translating to 1,908 less counts registered, burglary at non-residential premises remains problematic, crime recording an increase of 1.5%, which translates to 49 counts more. An increase that is marginally lower than the current period. Similar to the preceding quarter, this was mainly due to the break-ins at school, liquor outlets, and other businesses, in particular or especially during the unrest. However, with the adjusted period comparison, this category indicated a decrease of 31%, which translates to 9,663 counts lower. We will be addressing the burglary at non-residential premises with our partners in business. Two things must happen. The increase in police patrols at hotspot areas, the increase in security, physically and technologically by the business owners. Hopefully, this will score us an overall reduction in the property-related crimes during the next reporting period. Other serious crime, which is the last category, the last of the 17 community reported crime, which also indicated a decrease of 0.7% in comparison with the 2021 period. In comparison with the same quarter of 2019-2020, the adjusted figure would have still decreased by 15.2%. In conclusion, as I conclude, Chairperson and honorable members, we are currently in the festive season and implementing the Safer Festive Season Operational Plan. As we all know that this is the time of the year when criminals are daring and ruthless. This is the period where we experience a high levels of crime in the province. The province is not yet beyond reproach, even though there's 1.6 reduction in the 17 community-related crime. It's a beacon of hope to the men and the women in uniform across all platforms. Yes, we have to improve, and this reduction shows that we have the capability to improve. The actual numbers are still very high. The increase in rape and sexual assault tells us that we need to continue prioritizing crimes against women, children, and all vulnerable groups as they are not able to defend themselves against the perpetrators. But the 94 rapists or sexual offenders that the FCS managed to remove from the streets of Gauteng are currently serving a combined 90 life imprisonment term and further 2,791 year sentences. This is just a victory to the survivors. We have to do more so that the victims feel more protected. Let me use this opportunity, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, to call upon and urge the people of Gauteng to be more vigilant, observant about their environment and surroundings, and be on a high alert on the suspicious people and activities around them, especially this time of the year. Lately, we have also observed the spike of incidents of kidnappings for ransom and hijackings and hostage taking of victims for the purpose of cleaning their bank accounts by these suspects. I'm pleased to inform the citizens that we have a good plan in place which is yielding good results for us. Just yesterday, we managed to rescue a kidnapped person and arrested 6 suspects. We have also arrested some suspects involved in these crimes previously and rescued the victims in the past. Unfortunately, these good stories did not make it into the media space. In future, we will communicate more about these successes. Chairperson, without waste any time further, allow me to hand over to our provincial head, Crime Register, Brigadier Paul Chakalani, to present the comprehensive crime statistics for the second quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year. I thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Over to you, Mpho.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Let me start first by acknowledging you, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee.
Why your camera is not on?
We will fix it, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on.
Am I on now, Chairperson?
It's on.
Yes, you're on now.
Thank you, Chairperson. As well as our MEC, Mema Zibuko, the HOD, the management of the SAPS, as well as the management of the department, members of the media, and the Chairperson of the CPF board for Gauteng. Chairperson, the stats was released on last Friday by the minister, reflecting the national picture. For us now, we are only zooming into the provincial picture, which is Gauteng, as well as the stations that are reflecting in terms of the contribution of the crime in Gauteng. So what we have done, now I'm going to present the short version of the long version that was forwarded to you. So the presentation slide number will not necessarily follow the chronological numbers, as some of the slides are hidden to be incorporated in the long version. There's also the long version of the presentation, as well as the stat that is placed on the website, in case the members will want to have or zoom in into specific station in terms of how they perform during the quarter two. What we have done, Chairperson, is the reflection of what we did the previous quarter, whereby we reflected the picture prior to the when the COVID was implemented during 2019-2020, as well as 2020-2021 financial year. There's also in the middle here, there's a picture reflecting the current picture, where we'll be focusing on, which is July to September 2021, which is the period under review. And on my far left here is the period whereby we are adjusting. This is the period prior to COVID, or the implementation of the lockdown. The main purpose here, we are trying to show that what will the crime rate would have been, shouldn't it be all the implementation of the lockdown, as well as the restrictions. So let me start on it, Chairperson. In terms of the contribution of the crime, they're starting with the contact crime there. Our contact crime for period under review, as PCS indicated, we increased by 0.1%, reflecting an increase of 57 more counts. The increase was brought about the 4 offenses under this category having an increase, which is murder reflecting an increase of 21%, attempted murder increasing by 4.1, assault GBH 2.6 increase, as well as sexual offenses, an increase of 7.4. However, still within this category, the 3 offenses there reported an increase, which is common assault, robbery aggravating, as well as common robbery. However, when you look in terms of the adjustment method, what would the picture would have been if it wasn't for COVID, where we compare it with 2019 as well as 2020. Those offenses that would have still reflected an increase is murder as well as attempted murder, whereas the other 5 offenses would have reflected the reduction. As a whole, the category as a contact crime would have reflected a reduction of 11%, whereby 4,820 cases less would have reported. Still under contact crime, but zooming into the subcategory of robbery aggravating as well as sexual offenses, starting with the robbery aggravated, which is made up of 7 offenses there, which is carjacking, truck carjacking, the robberies of the CITs, bank robberies, house robberies, as well as business robbery. For current period under review, offenses that reflected an increase under these subcategories are carjacking, whereby we increased by 3.4%. This will have been a case even if we adjusted to 2019-2020, would have increased by 8.5%. Truck carjacking still for the current period, we increased by 2%. It would have been an increase as well if we adjusted it to 2019-2020. The other offense which we reported the increase for current period is our business robbery. We increased by 1.4%, 21 more cases were reported. However, when you look at the adjusted period, we would have reported a reduction of 12.1%. In terms of the trio crime chairperson, which is made up of carjacking, house robberies, as well as business robbery, we have reported a reduction of 0.2%. 9 cases less were reported. This would still be the case even if we adjusted to 2019-2020, whereby we have reported a reduction of 1.5%, 93 cases less that were reported. This reduction of the trio crime was brought about the reduction from our house robberies that were reported by 5.8%. Still under contact crime, but zooming into the sexual offenses there, which is made up of the 3 crimes there, which is rape, sexual assault, as well as contact sexual offenses that also include the attempted rape. For current period under review, 2 offenses whereby we reported an increase. Our rape increased by 8.5%. However, when you look at the adjusted period, we would have reported the reduction from our rape by 7.4%. Another offense whereby we increase under sexual offense is our sexual assault there. For current period under review, we increased by 9.1%. However, even if for adjusted period, they would have increased by 7.7%. Moving over, chairperson, to the second category, which is made up of contact-related crime for our 17 community reported. For current period under review, both 2 offenses that is made up of contact-related crime, which is arson as well as malicious damage to property, both reported an increase. As PCS indicated, this was as a result of the unrest that we experienced during the month of July, whereby both movable and immovable properties were either damaged, burned down, or destroyed. For arson, there we increased by 5.3%. We would have reported an increase still for this crime for adjusted period of by 11.9%. Malicious damage to property, we increased by 8.1%. However, when you look at the adjusted period, we would have reported a reduction of 6.8%. Overall, the category there, they would have reported a reduction of 6.4%, even though we indicated an increase for current period. Moving over to property-related crime, this category, we had a reduction there as a whole by 8.2%. The only crime that we reported an increase is burglaries at residential premises by 1.5%. However, if you look at the adjusted period, we have reported a reduction of 5.3%. The third category of 17 committee reported is other serious crime. For this category, we have reported a reduction of 0.7%. Even for adjusted period, we have reported a further reduction of 15.2%. However, 2 of the offenses under this category reported an increase, which is all theft not mentioned elsewhere, which is increasing by 1.5%. However, during the period of 2019-2020, we reported a reduction of 22.5%. Commercial crime has always been a problem for us, increased by 9.9% for current period. It's also increasing during the 2019-2020 comparison by 13%. Overall crime referring to 17 community reported crime reflecting the broader picture for Gauteng. Currently, we reported a reduction of 1.6%, whereby 1,518 cases less were registered. This still would have reported the reduction for 2019-2020 of 17.3%, whereby 19,935 cases less would have been registered. Moving over to crime dependent on police action for detection, ideally for this category would have want to see an increase. as opposed to the last product category, which is 17 community reported offense, whereby for this one, we want to see a reduction. But for this one of crime dependent on police action, we want to see an increase to show the police effectiveness as well as in terms of the detection and arrest. So the 4 crimes that are reported under this category, 2 of those reflected an increase and the other 2 reflected a reduction. Of those that reported the reduction are illegal possession of firearm and ammunition, reduced by 14.8%. Another reduction was reported by driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs by 20.1%. Of those that reported an increase is drug-related crime by 2.3%. Sexual offenses detected as a result of police action increased by 25%. However, the broad category there of crime dependent on police action reduced by 6.6%. When you look at the adjusted period there of 2019-2020, all offenses reflecting a reduction. As a result, the entire category we lost it by 55.5%. We included this slide like we did the previous quarter. The purpose of the slide is going to be useful for the next slide that I'm going to reflect, whereby we're calculating the per capita. We use the population estimate that we obtained from Status A. As I indicated, this population estimate are only uniquely designed for us in terms to suit the needs of the series, which is Q2, starting from July until September 2021. As we see from the screen there, Chairperson, Gauteng remains the highest or most populated province as compared to other provinces. Even the increases that are reflecting there, the number of increases that are reflecting by Gauteng is higher than what it's been reported by other provinces, which is followed by KwaZulu-Natal. The slide whereby we're comparing the per capita, whereby the purpose is to calculate the crime ratio. This is where mainly we focusing on the contact crime, whereby the victims is the person. The purpose of the slide is to ensure the comparison among the provinces in terms of the likelihood of the person being a victim of a specific crime or a specific crime category. When you look at the contact crime there, which is murder, attempted murder, assault, GBH, common assault, common robbery, as well as sexual offenses, per capita for period under review, July to September. When you look at the murder there, the probability of a person being killed out of 100,000 is 8.4 for Gauteng. In terms of the attempted murder there, the probability of a person being the victim of attempted murder there out of 100,000 per population is 7.8%. In regard to assault, GBH is 53.8%, common assault is 67%, common robbery there is 20.8%. In regards to sexual offenses there, the probability of a person being a victim of sexual offenses, whether it's rape, sexual assault, as well as contact sexual offense, out of 100,000 population there is 16.9%. Now looking in terms of the comparison with other provinces, how Gauteng have contributed to national figure there. Gauteng overall, as I indicated from the first slide, that we reduced our crime by 1.6%. In terms of the national contribution there, Gauteng for current picture or for current period there is contributing 27.2% towards the national picture. This is in relation to 17 community reported crime. When you look at the 3 months and month-to-month comparison in terms of the performance of this particular category, starting from July, August, September, when you look at the comparison in terms of the current and the previous period, the same period last year, the current period, which is July to September 2021-2022, during July, we were level 3 from the 1st of July until 17th of August. Then the country moved to level 2 from the 18th of August to 20th of September, and level 1 from the 21st to date of September. We're still on level 1. Whereas the previous previous year, during July, level 4 from the 28th of July June up until the 25th of July, and then we moved last year to level 3 from the 26th to 12th of September, and then level 2 from the 13th of September, we were on level 2. So when we look at the 17 community reported crime, the overall crime during July, we only increase in August by 1,390. September, we also reduce. Looking into the district there, the district that reflected the reduction there, they're all Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, Sedibeng, which by Ekurhuleni have reported a highest reduction in terms of the actual value by 1,027, and Johannesburg reduced by 919, Sedibeng by 266. And of those districts that reported an increase for 17 community reported crime is Tshwane by 643, as well as Western by 28%. As a result, Gauteng there reported a reduction of 1.6. Now the top 40 station that are featuring as a top 40 station in terms of the crime heavyweight station, whereby they accumulated more volumes than other stations during this period. The top 40 station that reflected for Gauteng there, the top 10 of those are also featuring in the national list there, of which the top 2, the Johannesburg Central and Honeydew. In most of the cases, these two stations are normally alternating the position 1 and 2. Last quarter there, it was Honeydew, and the second place was Johannesburg Central. Now Honeydew moved over to Johannesburg Central now is taking place at the first place, and then Honeydew is on the second place for quarter 2. These top 40 stations are mainly listed here on the top 40, mainly to their contribution, irrespective of whether they have reported a reduction or an increase. So out of this top 40, 17 stations recorded a reduction and 23 stations reported an increase. And those that reported the reduction, those that have reported the reduction, the highest reduction was Honeydew by 315, and the highest increase was from Temba. 249 cases more were reported. All in all, this top 40 for the quarter 2, they are contributing 49.5% of crime in Gauteng. Hence, for us, Gauteng, we only stick to our top 40 because we have established that this top 40, they're normally contributing 50 or more crime in Gauteng. Hence, we maintain this top 40 station as a province. Now moving over to the contact crime, the first category there. The narrative is still the same in terms of explaining the slide there, the figure there up there. What I can only mention there is that during the month of July, August, September, the only month that we increased our contact crime is during the month of August there by 1,319. Looking in terms of the district, the 3 of the district reported an increase for the contact crime. The highest increase being Tshwane there by 493, and of those districts that reported the reduction for their contact crime, it was Johannesburg, the highest, with 481 counts less that they have reflected. As a result of the 3 districts they're reporting an increase, we end up having a contact crime there, having an increase of 57 cases, translating to 0.1% increase of contact crime in Gauteng for quarter 2. Still for top 40 of the contact crime for the province there, top 15 of the station also feature in the national list. The top 2 they being Johannesburg Central as well as Temba. Out of this top 40, there are 16 stations recorded an decrease, 24 stations indicated an increase. In terms of those that reported the reduction there, the highest was Honeydew with 143 counts lower, and of those stations that reflected an increase, the highest was Temba with 154. I also have to mention that both for 17 community reported crime as well as contact crime there, all the districts are represented. Obviously, majority are being from Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane for both categories. So for contact crime contribution, this top 40, they are contributing 51.5%. Now, when we look at the crimes, contact crimes against women and children, only zooming into murder, attempted murder, and assault GBH, starting with the crimes against women, the women 18 years plus. When you look at the current period, of those murders cases that were reported during the current period, 179 of those were female. And then in terms of the attempted murder that were recorded during the period under review, 274 cases were female. In terms of the assault GBH cases that were reported as the province during the period under review, 2,732 cases were the cases of women. All the three cases have reflected, the offenses have reflected an increase, with murder increasing for women by 45, attempted murder increasing by 50, assault GBH 155. And then crimes against children there, yeah, we are referring to children between 0 and 17 years, both boys and girls. For murder there, of all the cases that was reported for murder for the period under review in Gauteng, 30 of those were crime, for in relation to children. In terms of the attempted murder, of those attempted murder reported for Q2 in Gauteng, 36 of those were for children. In terms of the assault GBH, 265 out of assault GBH cases that were reported for Q2 were for children. And of those offenses that reflected an increase is murder there by 7. And for children were murder, the reduction there was reported under murder as well as assault GBH, with murder reducing by 25%, assault GBH by 8.6%. Moving over to domestic violence then. Domestic violence, when you look at the month to month there, July, August, September, the only month that we have reported more cases there, it was from the September day month with 2,443 cases. In terms of the district contribution towards the figure there of domestic violence that were reported, this is overall for all the crime related, not excluding other crime. The district that is contributing mainly there is Johannesburg there, proportionally contributing 42%, translating to 2,701 cases that were linked to domestic violence were reported by Johannesburg alone. The second most contributor there from Gauteng is Ekurhuleni, with a total cases of 1,480 cases of domestic violence that were reported. In terms of the proportional contribution is 23%. And the third highest contributor there of our domestic violence in Gauteng for Q2 is from Tshwane by 1,329 cases linked to domestic violence, proportionally contributing 20%. Now, when you look at this domestic violence, only for those selected crimes there. As a Gauteng, most of our contributors of domestic violence are from the cases of common assault GBH, as well as malicious damage to property. I will mention the three, but when I zoom into our murder, attempted murder, rape, as well as sexual offense, those were linked to domestic violence, starting with the attempted murder there. In all murder cases that were reported in Gauteng, 34 of those were as a result of domestic violence, whereby the victims, their majority were female with 20 and male with 14. And the contributing district there, the highest being Johannesburg with 16 cases, followed by Ekurhuleni by 9, City 5, Tshwane 3, West Rand and 1. In terms of the murder, the total cases of murder linked to domestic violence is total of 26, of which the majority there, the victims were male with 16, female 10, and the contributing district there still with Johannesburg 10, and Ekurhuleni City, each district having 5 cases of murder linked to domestic violence, and Tshwane and West Rand there 3 cases each linked of attempted murder linked to domestic violence. In terms of the rape that were reported for Q2 for Gauteng, of all rape cases that were reported for Gauteng, 95 cases of those were as a result of domestic violence, whereby females, they were the main majority were the victims there with 93 cases, male with 2. The contributing district there is Johannesburg with 30, Ekurhuleni 25, Tshwane with 24. Sexual assault, of all the sexual assault that we reported for Q2, 19 cases of those as a result of domestic violence. Majority of the victims, they were female with 18 cases, 1 male, and the contributing district is Johannesburg with 6. Now, in relation to our murder there, unfortunately, for all 3 months of the Q2, we have reported an increase, obviously, with July, as indicated, due to any, in addition to other factors that we have identified, the unrest also played a role. Now, when you look in terms of the district there, all the districts have reported an increase with the exception of Tshwane there, whereby what they have reported for current period in terms of the counts there is the same count that they reported during the last financial year, which reflecting a stabilization in terms of their murder there. When you look in terms of the comparison with 2019, because the number of the current picture of the current period is highlighted in red, it means that if we would have adjusted these figures, we would have still reported an increase even for 2019 for MEDA for all the districts. His overall MEDA for Q2, we have reported an increase even for adjusted period of 2019-2020. Now, when we look in terms of the positive factor, the contributing factors of MEDA in Gauteng, argument, misunderstanding still plays a major role for our MEDA in Gauteng, whereby we took a sample of 1,103. Out of that, 95 cases of MEDA were the result of argument, misunderstanding. These are resulting from the social interaction from people still remaining a problem in Gauteng. The second most contributors of our MEDA in Gauteng for Q2 is vigilantism, with a total of 39, and the third one is robberies, there 36. This we are referring to house robbery, business robbery, and any other common robbery. And the fourth most contributor to our MEDA in Gauteng for Q2 is taxi related with 17 cases. Looking in terms of other phenomenon of MEDA there, not necessarily being the contributing factors that we have, it's worth mentioning. In terms of the murders of police that happened during the Q2, we reported 4 incidents of murder of police, of which 2 members were on duty and the other 2 were off duties. The other part that is playing a contributor in terms of increasing or accumulating more counts for our murder in Gauteng is multiple victims that we are encountering in Gauteng. This is whereby in one incident, there are more victims or multiple victims that are killed. So in Gauteng for Q2, out of 66 dockets that were registered, it resulted into a total of 142 victims. The breakdown is as follows. In 58 dockets, in each docket, there were 2 victims. In 6 dockets, there were 3 victims each. In 2 dockets, there were 2 victims each. The other factor that also been mentioned by PC in his speech, that we also reported 2 murders as a result resulting from farm or small holding. There were 2 incidents there whereby the victims were farm owners. The places where these murders are likely to happen in Gauteng for Q2 or commonly to happen, that the first place there is public place there with a total of 658. The second most place where this murder are occurring in Gauteng for Q2 is residence of perpetrator there with 238. And the other category there is the third category, which business premises with a total of 47. And the liquor outlets, they're referring to the Chevin's Tavern, pub, nightclub, and bottle store, also play the role there with the 31 cases of the place of occurrence for murder in Gauteng during Q2 of the current financial year. Now looking in terms of the top 40 of the murder in Gauteng, from the top 40 there that are listed, the top 6 there are also featured in the national list of the top 30, which is Atteridgeville, Alexandra, Ivory Park, Kagiso, GP, Orange Farms. And of those top 40 stations, 6 stations recorded a decrease, 2 stabilized, 32 stations indicated an increase. Of those stations that reported an increase, Ivory Park was highest with 24 counts, and of those stations that reported the reduction, Johannesburg Central was highest with 13 counts less that they have reported for Q2. Overall, this top 40 for Q2 of the current financial year, they're contributing 62.3% towards our murder figure for Q2 as Gauteng. The trio crime there for month of July, August, we have reported the reduction. However, during the month of September, that's where we increased by 190. Zooming into the district that reported an increase for Q2 for the trio crime there is Tshwane and West Rand, with Tshwane increasing by 89 cases, West Rand by 171. And the highest reduction here was reported by Ekurhuleni with 104 cases less that they have reported. But overall, the trio crime as a province, we reduced by 0.2%, 9 cases less that we have registered. The trio crime, the top 40 there, we have contributing more than 50% of the station of the top 30 of the national, with the top two there being Tembisa and Kagiso. The 17 stations are also featured in the national list, the top 17 stations. Out of this top 40, 15 stations recorded a reduction and 25 stations indicated an increase. And of those stations whereby we have reported an increase there, the highest increase was reported by Kagiso with 69 counts. And of those stations that reported the reduction, the highest was Honeydew with 48 counts less. In total, this trio station, the 40 station, they're contributing 51.9% of the total figure of the trio figure in Gauteng for Q2. The carjacking, we reported the reduction only in July. The other 2 months we increased. In terms of the district there, the two districts that reflected the reduction for carjacking is Sedibeng as well as Tshwane. Sedibeng with 52 cases and Tshwane 45. And the highest increase there was reported by Ekurhuleni with a total of 108 cases. In this regard, Gauteng had reported an increase of 83. The top 40 station for the trio for the carjacking, we are contributing 20 stations. They're more than 50% of the top 30 of the station in nationally. Of those, the top 40 of the Gauteng, the 14 stations recorded the reduction, 3 stations stabilized, 23 stations indicated an increase. And of those stations whereby we have reported an increase, Tembisa is the highest there in terms of the increases by 37 counts. And of those stations whereby there was a reduction, the highest reduction was reported by Silverton with 21 counts. Overall, this top 40 stations, they are contributing 56.6% towards our carjacking figure for Q2 as Gauteng. Property robberies at residential premises, we have reported the reduction in all 3 months, July, August, September. In terms of the district, the only district that reported an increase for robberies at residential premises for Q2 of the current financial year is only West Rand with 42.5%. The highest increase, the highest reduction there was reported by Ekurhuleni by 97 cases. Overall for Gauteng, we have reported a reduction of 113. Top 40 station for robberies at residential premises, of which the top 40 are also reflecting the national top 30, the top 2 being Tembisa and Linden. Of those stations that reported an increase, 14 stations decreased, Rietgat stabilized, and 25 stations indicated an increase. Kagiso was the highest in terms of those that reported an increase, and Honeydew was the highest in terms of those stations that reported the reduction for robberies at residential premises. These stations are contributing 63.2% of our figure of robberies at residential premises as Gauteng during Q2. Robberies at non-residential premises, the only month whereby we reported the reduction was in July. August, September reported an increase. And the district there whereby they have reported an increase is Sedibeng, Tshwane, and West Rand, the highest being Tshwane with 136. And of those districts that reported the reduction, the highest was Ekurhuleni with 115. The top 40 stations for our robberies at non-residential premises, of which the 16 stations there, the top 16 stations are also featured in the national top 30 list for the second quarter of robberies at non-residential properties, of which the highest there was the Kagiso with 27 cases. Those that reflected the reduction for robberies at non-residential premises is Springs with 16 counts lesser. The total contribution of robberies at non-residential premises, they are contributing 58.4% of total figure of Gauteng for robberies at non-residential premises for Q2. The robberies of cash in transit, in total, we reported 12 cases. As PC indicated, there is a reduction of 15 cases when you compare with the previous period. This 12 is made up of 8 from the cross pavement, 2 AV on the road, 1 static AV, and 1 merchant retail. The truck hijacking, the only month that we've reported an increase for our truck hijacking is during the month of September. Looking in terms of the district there, the 3 districts reflected an increase for the truck hijacking, the highest being Tshwane with 19 cases, and of those districts that reflected a reduction, the highest was reported by Ekurhuleni with 15 cases less that they have registered. Sexual offenses, the only month that we reported the reduction for sexual offense here is in terms of the broader category, which is made up of the rape, attempted rape, sexual assault, as well as sexual offenses. So for this particular subcategory, during the month of July, we reported a reduction, whereas August, September, there was an increase. The highest increase was during the month of August with 176. Looking into the district there, the highest increase was from 112, and for those districts that reflected a reduction, the highest was Ekurhuleni with 17 cases. Sexual offenses, the place of occurrence where these incidents are more likely to happen. In terms of the sample that we took, the residence of perpetrators and victims, that's where most common of the sexual offenses are happening in Gauteng with a total of 421. The second most place where these incidents are happening in Gauteng are public places with 136. The other one whereby these incidents are happening from the hotel guest whereby is total of 12, but we sum up this category there to other, which means that it's inclusive of those categories that are indicated there with a total of 27. The top 40 stations for sexual offenses during the quarter two, the top 10 of those are also reflected in the national list, of which the top 2 there is Temba and Tsakani. Now looking in terms of those stations, there 9 of station decreases, 2 stations stabilized, and 29 stations indicated an increase. And of those stations whereby they have reported an increase, Temba was highest with 28 counts, and of those stations that were they have reported the reduction in terms of sexual offenses, Haneji was highest with 25 counts. In overall, the sexual offenses, this top 40 stations are contributing 54.7% towards the Gauteng figure for quarter two for sexual offenses. Property-related crime, all 3 months we reported a reduction, July, August, September. Hence, all the districts, they also reported the reduction for overall property-related crime. As a result, the province also reported a reduction of 8.2%. The top 40 stations for property-related crime, of which the top 10, they are also featured in the national top 30 for second quarter of property-related crime. The top 2 there being Brooklyn and Verdebreg. In all, the 26 stations recorded a decrease, 14 stations indicated an increase. And of those stations whereby they have reported the reduction, Pretoria Central was highest for those that reported an increase with 105 counts. And of those stations whereby there was a reduction, Springs was the highest with 138 cases, counts lower that were the reported. Total contribution of this top 40, they are contributing 54% towards the figure of Gauteng for quarter two for our property-related crime. Stock theft there, which is my last slide, Chairperson. During the month of August, that's where we reported an increase just by 1 case. The other 2 months, there was a reduction. In terms of the district, the only district that reflected an increase for stock theft there during this quarter, it was Tshwane with 2 cases. And of those districts that reported an reduction, the highest was from West Rand with the total cases of 30, and it was followed by Sedibeng with 10 cases less that they have reported. As a result, the Gauteng, we have reported the reduction of 46 cases during the quarter two for our stock theft. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the presentation of the second quarter crime stats. Honorable members, that is the presentation from the office of the PC. I will be taking hands for input, point of clarification, and also questions. And then after the members have asked questions, they will be answered. And after that, we'll take the stakeholders who want to give the inputs. I'll note the hands of I see Member Koba's hand is up. And Member Sokaile is up. I'll start with Member Kobas. After that, it will be Member Kanyile. In that order.
Madam Chair, and to everybody, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, PC and the members. I think we should note with concern the increase that we are seeing in terms of the statistics. I want to thank the PC for giving us that extra table to correlate between the previous years before COVID and this. I think it gives us a good perspective, but it is still problematic, and we can still see that there is a steady increase and in some a proportionate increase in the crime statistics. With that being said, Madam Chair, what is really bothering me is the budget cuts that we are seeing with SAPS. We are seeing detective services that are overwhelmed totally. We are seeing DNA testing that cannot be done and takes months and years to be completed, that hampers the judicial system in convicting these criminals. We look at ballistic testing, the same thing is going on there. There's no joy in doing the ballistics. That helps with the house robberies and that we cannot get these guys in front of a court.
Am I the only person that can't hear anything?
Can I proceed?
You can proceed. Member Shackleton, we are here. We are hearing him. Maybe can we check Mike that to assist you so that you should be able to follow? Over to you, Member Kobas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then we're also looking at the recruitment program of SAPS, and we are just not getting enough SAPS members in to assist with this crime wave that we are experiencing for the last few years. And that is all, Madam Chair, that is all management problems. We're seeing, and as we visited loads of police stations, we see that they do not have bulletproofs. They are understaffed, under-resourced, and this is a problem. This is not only a problem for the community, but this is also a problem for the police officers that daily put their lives at risk to apprehend these culprits and these thugs. So without sorting out the management problems within SAPS, I do not see the sun on the horizon, and I do not see that this is going to get better. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Hoffman. Member Kanyile.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to, excuse me, I just want to find out on one matter. Let me first thank the presentation. Obviously, the important thing is how we fight crime. I just want to find out on the what we call top 40 stations. What has been happening, if I remember quite well, is that the identification of the top 40 station was based on what is called deliverology, and I might be wrong, but the intention was that you identify the top 40 stations and over 2 years implement a plan to deal with that. Now, if my introduction is correct, I just want to find out from the PC or Brigadier Catalan, the top 40 that they are referring to, is it the same top 40 that has been identified, or it keeps changing every time? Now, let's say for argument's sake, the issue is that it is the same all the time. So for how long are they using that top 40 example? And also, if in their own assessment, because as I said, it's supposed to be over 2 years, maybe it's more than 2 years, what is it possible in the next presentation, not now, just to give us a sense of what progress has been made in those top 40 since they were identified, not over a year or two, but since they were identified. But I would assume that the top 40 station, there should be a coordinated plan. Obviously, the argument would be that that assessment must also assist us to understand if that plan, coordinated as it is it really effective or not? But if the argument is that no, the top 40 station changes over time, then there could be a problem, because then it means this year we've got one certain top 40, then the following time is another top 40, so you're unable to check. Thank you, Chair. That was my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Kanyile. Is there any member who want to ask question or give input?
Yes, please, Chair. I hope that you.
Okay, member Shackleton. Member Shackleton. Tabile, can you request Mike to assist Member Shackleton?
He did so already. It's just that I've been having very bad connectivity issues, I think. But if you can hear me now, Chair, that's would be great.
Yes, we can hear you, Member Shackleton. You can
Wonderful.
proceed.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Chairperson. I wanted to ask something about Hammanskraal timber, which is linked to my.
Can you switch on your video, your camera?
I'm just driving at the moment, Chair. So it's just very complicated.
All right.
But I do apologize profusely.
So he's doing an illegal act, driving and talking on the phone.
There's hands-free, honourable member.
Proceed, my honourable Shackleton.
Sure. Thank you. So I wanted to ask a question about Hammanskraal timber, which is really related to my question regarding communication from SAPS. So it seems that Hammanskraal is now more or less the rape capital. And in my time politically, I've pretty much only ever been working in Hammanskraal. So it is an area that's very dear to me, and I'd like to ask what steps will be taken to alleviate what is now a crisis, and things have been televised there where journalists have been going to interview community members and so on and so forth, and it really seems to be a bad situation there regarding rape. But this brings me to what I want to say moreover is that, for example, during the violent unrest and looting, residents all over Gauteng, they were demanding more communication. Just to say, for example, where are there violent hotspots and where are they not, and what is the police doing, and where should they go and where they shouldn't go. And I can completely take on board that there are days, even weeks, where there is nothing to report. But I think that the best ward councillors across Gauteng, let's say if there is a power outage, they say, I am on site, I will give you feedback within 3 hours. And I think residents across Gauteng are currently not feeling safe. And I think it would be better for SAPS and for all the residents around Gauteng. Let's say if you do have Hammanskraal, if you do have Pretoria Central around there where you have a spike in various cases, we've heard about increases in cases of murder, that I think it would be beneficial if police could communicate more on an ongoing basis to say, don't go to these areas, but especially to communicate to ongoing actions that the police is having. And I think that would invoke much more confidence in the police here in Gauteng. I know that police resources have been a major issue. Out of service vehicles continue to be a problem at every SAP station that we actually go to, and we do need solutions to that. Norway seems to have enough officers, but I think it would make people feel calm or calmer for there to be some sort of constant communication where they know about ongoing crimes, but they know moreover that the police are doing something and are taking active steps all of the time. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Chairperson, and thank you to the Provincial Police Commissioner for always being available to all communications that I sent through to his office. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Shackleton. With regard to PC, I want to make an addition with regard to the issue of Hammanskraal, particularly on sexual offences. I just wanted to find out, because the last time I was discussing with the MEC that with regard to the number, the increase in terms of the cases which are reported at Themba, are those cases for Hammanskraal, or does it include the Moretele part? Because in terms of the demarcation, you cannot easily separate the two areas because they are divided by a street, and it causes a concern to us that maybe some of the cases, PC, they are from that side and people are reporting it in Gauteng, whereas they are staying in Northwest. That's the one thing which we need a clarity. And then with regard to the taxi-related cases, PC, I just wanted to find out, in terms of the hotspot which have been identified during the presentation of the stats, how is the PC's office or the station which there is a hotspot of those related taxi cases going to address them? Because if there is no plan or a program which will be able to cap those challenges around the taxi area, it will increase further, go to another area, and it will increase murder cases within the GP. Then lastly, the issue of car hijacking. I wanted to find out, because recently, provincial commissioner, there is this issue of the delivery on the online product which are ordered by the residents in those shops which are not around. Is that part of the contributing factors in terms of car hijacking? Because usually when they go and deliver the product, usually they hijack the suppliers during that process. Is it that part included, or is it will be included in the next time? Thanks, I'll pause there. Over to you, PC. If there are no any other questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members, for those questions. I will start with the last question posed by the Honorable Chairperson about the carjacking. Yes, it is true, the online shopping, it is contributing, especially in the area of Loate Winterfeld, whereby people, they order some stuff to be delivered. And then when these people, they arrive in those areas, they are being targeted. It does form part of that. And majority of those stats are included under the truck hijacking, because we categorize the delivery vehicles with those trucks. We also have a challenge of hijacking of the Uber taxis. It is also high in the province. People are being called in to come and pick up somebody, only to find that the intention is to hijack those ones. Going back to the demarcation between Themba and Northwest, yes, it is true. There is a task team established nationally between ourselves and Northwest, including the senior officers from National, to ensure that Northwest, they must take part of Themba, which is their responsibility in terms of policing. Currently, Themba is also policing part of Northwest, and they are registering the cases into Themba. I'll give a practical example. You are Moeka Vuma, the police station which was started to be built some years ago, is still not yet been completed. And that community in that particular space, they also report cases in Themba. Part of Themba towards Karoza, that particular area, it also falls under Northwest. But we are policing them, and those people, they are reporting those cases to us. So with us, it remains, whether it's committed in Northwest or any other part, it remains a challenge for us because of we are the national police. So even if it is not accounted by us in Gauteng, it will still be accounted by Northwest. But as soon as this process is concluded, maybe we'll begin to see some changes in terms of the crime situation around Temba. Over and above that is to understand the profile of Temba. Some other people, when we talk about Temba, they only know Temba, the old location, Manyeleti, Libone, Unity. But over and above that, Temba is responsible for more than 8 villages which they are policing in that particular space, of which it is a challenge for them. But I believe that come the 1st of April next year, when Northwest take their part, we'll see some changes in that particular space. It will alleviate pressure from the police station. Coming to the issue of taxi violence hotspot, we do have a plan, Honorable Chair. This plan, it was put together by the law enforcement agencies in the province, our office of our MEC, also the office of the MEC Mama Bolo. We have put together a plan whereby the first pillar of the plan is the proactive pillar coupled with the combating pillar. And that's where we've put together an integrated forces, members of SAF, members of metros, Gauteng traffic, and all these teams are supported by the first leg of intelligence to deal with the challenges of the taxis. These combat teams are established in Tshwane, in Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and in Sidibe. So they are doing a very pleasing job in terms of there are situations whereby they prevent the attacks of these taxi groupings, and they also proactive in terms of recovering illegal firearms in that particular space. But over and above that, Honorable Chair, we do have an investigative arm, the Taxi Violence Investigation Unit. You will recall that after we received a report by Shongwe Commission in terms of the taxi feud in the province, we were also criticized about not beefing up that investigation arm. I'm happy to announce to you that we have increased the numbers of the investigators in that particular space, and we've also put some counterintelligence measures over that unit to ensure that they are not conflicted or find themselves compromised while working with these cases relating to taxi violence. So the planning is there, and we are monitoring the plan. We are also monitoring the performance of these teams which we have established. If I may go to the input by Honorable Member Shackleton, I partly touched on that, the profile of Temba. But over and above that, there are some work which we were doing all the time. And this work which we were doing, it was publicized because we had members of the media who were accompanying us. I can't tell the exact number of Operation Okaimo now, which we have conducted in Temba. We've an objective to address the challenges of Temba. And in all those operations, we were supported by media which was accompanying us. We have done the day operations, we have done the night operations in that particular space. We even went further, launching the festive season operation in Temba, so that we can engage and talk to the communities and make them aware of the situation which they find themselves into. We were there with our MEC there, I think last month when we were launching the safer festive season operation. Over and above that, I think the MEC will comment on that, but the provincial launch of the 16 days of activism, the MEC also directed that launch to that particular space. All this is the work which the government is putting in place to educate, to talk to the communities of Temba, and also to make them aware of the situation which is happening in that particular space. And lastly, about Temba, the MEC also donated a vehicle for the FCS of Temba. They received a vehicle, and she further donated another vehicle to the victim-friendly facility of Temba. So clearly it shows that as a department and as government, there are serious work done in that particular space of Temba to address the challenges which they find themselves. And going to the matter raised by Honorable Member Bosho, with regard to the challenges of budget cut, yes, it is a concern for all of us. It is our wish that more money must be given to the SAPS so that we can be able to meet all the expectations placed upon us by our communities. Unfortunately, there's no money in the fiscals. We have to do with what we have, of which it is challenging. If there is any means whereby more money can be made available for us, it will be highly appreciated. It also impacts on the recruitment, but not only the issues of the budget, but the COVID has impacted us, because for the past 2 financial years, we never taken in recruits for basic police training, and all it was because of the restrictions which were placed upon all of us. Moving forward, we think that as we manage to reduce the numbers of the COVID, surely we'll be able to send our members, our recruits for basic training. Hopefully next year, January, we'll be having members who are taken in for recruitment. Going to the issue of Honorable Member Kanile, let me explain this top 40 police station. You will recall that there was a narrative which was going around to say Gauteng as a province is contributing 50% of the overall national crime rate. And so many people, they've believed that. But when I came in here, I wanted to check what makes Gauteng, what ravished the good name of Gauteng. And when we do our analysis, we have identified 40 police stations which are contributing over 52.8% of the overall crime of Gauteng. So what do we do with these 52 police stations, with these 40 police stations? We have put plans in place, firstly to capacitate those police stations, because we have done the diagnostic assessment of all those police stations. Check what is their main challenges, what makes them not to perform better than other police stations. Why are they contributing so much crime in the scoreboard? So among the others was the command and control. We've addressed those things. The resources, we've capacitated them. Previously, when we recruited, we give them more members. When we buy vehicles, we give it to them so that they can be resourced to fight crime. But over and above that, there are other police stations, whether we like it or not, due to their profile, they will forever be contributing big numbers. Whether we like it or not, you can do everything you like. There's no way that you can remove Johannesburg Central from the national list. There's no way. There's no way that you can remove Hillbrook. They're forever there due to their contribution to the national scoreboard. But how do we assess the achievement of what we are putting in place? It's when those stations, they are reducing crime. That is how we are assessing our achievement. So they may be there because of their contributing bigger volumes, but when we see them reducing crime, we believe that we are achieving the objective. So we are not chopping and changing. Those police stations are there. Those who are out of the top 40, you find that it's 1 or 2, but majority of those, they remain there. The police stations which were part of the deliverology, they are also part of the very same top 40 we are talking about. So we are addressing all the challenges in that particular space holistically. So this is what I can input, but I will check with Brigadier Chakalani if there is any addition. Brigadier?
Yes, General. Thank you, Chairperson. Just to add on what General is indicating in terms of the criteria between these two lists, the top 40 as well as the deliverology. Between the two lists, there are similar, same stations that are replacing. However, with deliverology, they go as far as including the smaller station, not necessarily because of the contribution, but because of the service delivery or the complaints received. So there are stations that we are sharing between the two lists. For us, we include it's solely only on the contribution. The top 40 is only on the contribution, like PC indicated. The list does not necessarily change. For instance, for Johannesburg Central, Honeydew, Hillbrow will forever be there. For West Rand, Randfontein, Kagiso, Krugersdorp will forever be there. Citibank, Vanderbilt will forever be there. Tshwane, Temba, Brooklyn, Mamelodi East, to mention, they will forever be there. Ekurhuleni, Kempton Park, Tembisa, they will forever be there. The only thing that we are monitoring on these stations is that they don't regress, like PC say. For instance, Johannesburg Central and Honeydew, they are forever alternating the position, meaning it's either this month, this quarter, they are decreasing higher than the other, but all those stations, we maintain them annually. Like nationally, they're doing their top 30. But for us, we identified top 40, like PC is saying. The reason being that we identified that these top 40 are contributing 50% of crime in Gauteng. Hence, we are saying when we tackle this top 40, automatically we are reducing crime in Gauteng because they are contributing 50% of crime in Gauteng. So to answer your question, Honorable Kanyide, yes, the list, they're sharing the same station, but you find out ours is only on the contribution, whereas the deliverology, there are other factors that they are including. Like you find that the deliverology, they have station like Langlaagte. For us, we don't have a problem as such for Langlaagte in terms of the volumes, but it is included there in the deliverology because of maybe of the complaints that are received from the station of service delivery. So that's all I can add on that piece. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Brigadier. We will request if there is any member of the stakeholder who want to ask questions or give input before we release the PC. Any inputs from the stakeholders or questions of clarification based on the presentation of the stats? If there are none, it seems there are none. Or is there anyone who would like to speak, Tabile?
Yes, Chair. On the chat, there was a question from Francina. I'm trying to scroll, Chair. I don't see it. But Francina was asking what progress will be made now on the top 40 underperforming police station. I think that was the question, Chair. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. PC, have you got that question?
Yes, I got the question, but I thought that I've addressed it because we say that we want to see the downward trend in those police stations.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, if there is a downward trend in those police stations, ultimately you see the downward trend of the overall crime stats of Gauteng because they are 40 out of 143, they are contributing over 50% of the crime. So if you focus there, you reduce crime in this top 40, automatically you are putting an impact on the 50% of the overall crime stats of Gauteng. Thanks.
Thanks, PC. If there are no any other follow-ups, Based on the presentation, based on the question, I want to release the PC and the staff. There's someone in the, let me check in the group. Or it's just a greeting. I want to release the PC and the senior management. And I would like to thank them for the presentation. Before we release them, PC, in our oversight visit of last week at Rietgat, we found that there is a challenge of electricity. We'll appreciate if that can be resolved, because it is affecting the service delivery in terms of addressing issues of cases which are reported, because they will be moving up and down to go and get where there is electricity to register the cases. Please, I'm pleading PC on behalf of the committee. And I don't want to respond PC now. I'm just raising it. You are released. Thank you for presenting. Hambanigashe, we'll see you in the next quarter for presentation. Can we move to agenda point number 16? Presentation by the Department of Community Safety. 16.1, the presentation on the annual report on the Department of Community Safety for 2020-21 financial year. MEC, I'll request you to make a remark and also hand over to the person who will be doing the presentation to us. MEC, over to you. MEC Mazibugo. Is the MEC still in the meeting?
Chair, yes. Bengilahlekelwe screening ngaboni ukuthi kuvulwa phi.
Okay, over to you, MEC.
Let me open the mic. Yes. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity to be invited to the portfolio committee. The HOD did indicate that she will log in, but I'm with officials. She indicated that Tshebeletso will lead the presentation. Tshebeletso, where is our presentation, Honorable Chair? Did you receive it?
Yes, we did receive the presentation, MEC.
Yes, can it be flighted and then Tshebeletso will speak to it, Chair? Tshebeletso,
Tabile, can the presentation be flighted?
Yes, Chair, Kia will be flighting the presentation.
Oh, Kia, who's flighting? As a committee, you don't have it. There's Tshebeletso, Chair. Tshebeletso, presentation ya rona e kae? Presentation bana beso. Re ja ka nako. Microphone, Tshebeletso. Microphone.
There's the presentation, MEC.
Tshebeletso. Chair, let me continue speaking whilst they sort themselves out. Next slide, please. That will be the format, Chair, of how the presentation looks like. Part A, it will just be general information. Part B, performance information. Part C, on governance. Part D&E on human resource management and financial information. Tshebeletso, are you ready to speak? Next slide. Chair, as you know, we have 3 programs in the department. Program 1 being the admin, program 2 being the provincial secretariat, and program 3, it includes traffic management, and where we also monitor compliance and respond to all the incidences. Of course, that also is it is what we call your integrated law enforcement, and as a result, that's where we actually report on those issues. Next slide. The audited performance, Chair, as you can see under administration, we achieved 82% of the work that we did on provincial secretariat. We are sitting at 86% on traffic management. We are actually sitting at 100%. On the department annual performance, we are actually sitting on 88% for the performance indicators of 2020-2021. Next slide. The underachieved targets, or those that were not achieved, Chair and the committee, let me acknowledge all of you. My apology for not greeting. All protocols observed. The planned target of paying invoices within 30 days, Chair, 94% of the invoices were actually paid within 30 days, which is we had a shortfall of about 6%. And the comment on deviations is that the deviation was due to the late submission of the goods receiving voucher, what you always call RLSO2, RLSO2, who corner E1, corner E2, Chair, for the payment of service providers. On the 50% of irregular expenditure in CAD, Chair, the actual achievement was 0%. The deviation plan target was 50%. On comments is that the department submitted for condonation to Treasury and was still awaiting for their response. Next slide. On monitoring and evaluations, we had 3 quarterly reports on police stations monitored based on the NMT tool compliance. 2 quarterly reports on the police stations were based on N2, meaning we had 2 successfully monitoring quarterly reports sessions, and that we had 1 deviation, and this indicator is based on the tool developed by the Civilian Secretariat at National, which was only forwarded to the department for implementation in the third quarter, and the department had to amend and the target adjusted during the month of April due to COVID-19 lockdown. On sub-program green doors, 36 green doors, Chair, were targeted to be rolled out. We're able to achieve 30 green doors that we're able to roll out. We have a shortage of 6. And due to COVID, most of those we could not gather. Remember, there was no gathering, Chair, so we could not actually roll out those green doors. Others were to pick up as and when the levels were being adjusted, level 2 and level 1, so we're able to push some of those green doors to actually be launched. On sub-program community police relations, we had planned targets of 11 assessments to be conducted through the community safety forums, and 10 were actually done, Chair. And the assessments that could not be undertaken was because in Johannesburg especially, they did not have a council resolution on community safety forums. So as a result, they were not able to establish the community safety forums. So other municipalities did have them. It's only Johannesburg that did not implement. On other underachieved targets, on the indicator of 100% of invoices paid, the action that we had taken is that on a weekly basis, a reminder with a list of outstanding RLSO2 is forwarded to the management. And on the 50% of irregular expenditure in CAD, we'll continue engaging the Treasury for the condonation. on the quarterly reports on police stations that were actually monitored. This indicator has already been customized so that then we use it as a tool. On the rollout of the green doors, the department is currently exploring other possible infrastructure that can be used to establish those green doors. On assessment conducted on community safety forums, we continuously engage those relevant municipalities. I don't know now that we have new parties that are actually running those municipalities, if we will ever be able to achieve that community safety forum target. Next slide. On financial performance, the department had planned to collect 36.6 million in the 2020-21 financial year, only 35.8 million in 2019-2020, a 5% projected increase from the prior year. The actual collection decreased by 9.4% to 94.4 million to 31.9 million. So meaning 41.3 million in the prior year, and due to COVID, chair we could not actually collect as per that planned target. The department spent 98% of its appropriated budget in the 2020-21 financial year, and in the prior year, 2% under expenditure was recorded in Program 2. On rollovers and reallocation of funds, the rollover and reallocations of funds stand an amount of 17.8 million, with a rollover of 5.6 million to 11 motor vehicles, which were delivered at the end of the year and not paid. 1.0 million to blue light installation, and the amount not paid is at the end of the financial year. 3.0 million to convert trucks into mobile stations, meaning they establish the Senza Ama mobile police station chair. 3.0 million, so meaning 3 million. Yes, about 3. It was 1.2 million for March stipend, which was payable to patrollers, and the procurement of Tetra radios. The reallocations were as followed. 3.8 million was actually paid on behalf of Sanral as per the SLA. 3.2 was paid on behalf of the department. We pay, so meaning we're paying patrollers who were doing the land invasion. So meaning Department of Human Settlement had not given us the money, so we had to pay from our money chair. That's why those reallocations of the money. On the audit committee report, the committee is satisfied that the internal audit plan, which reflects a clear alignment with the key risks, has adequate information system covered and a good balance across the different categories of audits. That is, this is risk-based, mandatory performance, computer and follow-up audits. The internal auditors consulted with management, Auditor General, and the audit committee on its internal audit plan. The committee also noted considerable improvement in the communication between the executive management, the Auditor General of South Africa, and the internal audit function, which has strengthened the corporate governance initiatives within the department. Against this backdrop, the audit committee will continue to monitor the capacity and the resources allocated to the internal audit function. Next slide. Progress on the departmental risk management was also reported to the audit committee on the quarterly basis, and the committee notes the effort made by the department to improve its risk management processes, and the department also should improve its culture of risk management in order to obtain a clean administration. Next slide. On the Auditor General's report, the financial statement presented were fairly in all material respects. The financial position of the department as of 31 March is that the department incurred material impairment of 460,000. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2020, it was 383. As a result of the impairment of accrued departmental revenue, in addition, as disclosed in the note 20.1 to the financial statements, the department wrote off or reversed accrued departmental revenue amounting to 5,242,000, and in 2020 it was 10 million that was actually reversed accrued. The department is the defendant in various lawsuits and labor disputes amounting to 53 million. And in 2020, they were standing at 93 million. The ultimate outcome of these matters cannot presently be determined, and no provision of any liability may result has been made in the financial statements. The Auditor General of South Africa identified material findings on the usefulness and reliability of the report of the reported performance information on Program 2, and the Auditor General did not identify any material findings on compliance with the specific matters in key legislation set out in the general notice issued in terms of the PAA. Next slide. That will be the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, MEC, for the presentation of the 2021 financial year.
I see the HOD wants to speak, Chair. Are you able to give an opportunity?
Yes, I'll give her the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks, MEC, for the presentation. HOD, can you add?
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, and good afternoon to the MEC and colleagues. I just wanted to give the committee
video, Chair.
Okay, video.
Switch on your video, HOD.
All right, here I am again.
Oh, Pasik Bon.
Can you switch on your video,
Chair,
HOD?
I just wanted to give the committee an update that So's microphone is not working at the moment, but she can hear everything that's been said.
Chairperson.
Aningboni.
No, it's
we
not
don't see you,
No,
HOD.
Boni, but we are courtesies, I suppose.
My video is on.
Mike, can you try to assist?
Aningboni.
No,
you are
Can you see me? My video is
blank screen. Blank
on.
screen.
My microphone is on.
Tabile, can you request Mike to assist?
No, Angwanagal.
Next. And you are Carter.
Any luck now? Can you see me now?
No.
Chair, can she continue?
Yes, you can continue, HOD. HOD, you can continue.
I'll send you a picture. Better.
Yes, Usakatasis.
Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can hear microphone is not working. IT is with her and trying to support her. I was not present. You can hear me now?
We can hear you, but you are not that much clear. Continue, HOD. Can you continue, please? Am I the only one who doesn't hear the HOD?
No, you're not the only one, Chair. HOD, bafuna ukuthini? Can we take the next item, Chair, while she sorts out herself? Chair?
Who's speaking?
Ke Mazibuko.
Okay. Members, honorable members, that is the presentation of the 2020-21 annual report. I'll request members if there is any questions or inputs or comments which they want to make with regard to the presentation done. Members? Any questions? Seni Cartel and our members.
No questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Hoffman. Member Shackleton. Member Kanyile.
He's still driving.
Yeah, Member Kanyile.
I'm sorry, Chair, I got cut. I don't know what happened. I had to log in again.
Okay.
Firstly, let me just to make the MEC to be comfortable. I also struggle like here when I have to pronounce the RLS. Sometimes we use the L. She understands why, but it's not an issue. Chair, let's thank the presentation by the MEC and the department. There are just few things I want to raise, Chair. The first one is that there are some recommendations. Actually, let me start with the Auditor General's report. If you look at how the MEC has presented it, I think it shows a good sign, but there are few things that are a problem. The first one, it is clear that there is a problem of the fact that the department last financial year, it received an unqualified audit with no findings. But in the year under review, it was a qualified audit. An unqualified audit with no findings. With findings, sorry. Now, it means it's a regression, Chair. And if you read the report of the audit committee of the department, I know the MEC, when she presented what the audit committee says, she didn't raise those things. But if you read the audit committee of the department itself, it's clear that the audit committee is also worried about the inability of management to implement adequate record management processes. So can the MEC or the HOT maybe explain what has been the problem with implementing adequate record management in the department, which led to the unqualified audit with findings? The other thing I want to ask, Chair, is that there seems also to be a problem with the collection of revenue by the department. The numbers they've collected in the year under review have dropped from the previous year. What is the problem? I think the bigger question is there a plan to improve on that so that you can collect what is due to? Because if you leave it for a longer time, you might end up coming to us and say you want to write it off, and it becomes a problem. The other thing, Chair, is that I see in your annual report on page 97, where you report about your relationship or how you deal with committees. When it comes to SCOPA, you've given details on the questions asked by SCOPA and what responses you've given. But when it comes to us as a portfolio committee, you've just given the list of our own meetings. So you've just given our timetable rather than what work we have done with us. Is there a reason for that, MEC? Because we are under the impression that you'll report that these are the things that we asked you to do and then you're able to do or you're not able to do. Also, one of the most important things for me, MEC, is the question that we first, let's congratulate that you've been able to fill the position of the HOD, but there's still a problem with provincial secretariat, which is the most important element in the committee, in the department, sorry. And we see that there's a problem. When are you intending to fill that position? Because I think that if you look at provincial secretariat as well, even performance as in spending and that, it's really not performing as well. Then there's another one on the performance. If you go to page 28 of your report, MEC, you're referring to the service delivery improvement plan. And if you check, it relates to the 5th administration and for the period 2018-2020. When are you going to have a new service delivery? See now, I'm like you now. I don't say service delivery improvement plan for the new term, so that you can be able to assess you on the basis of that. Lastly, Chair, is the issue that has to do with okay. That's 3 things. The first one is with the police, the secretariat. I realize in your report you are saying that there's now a new mandate that's given to the provincial secretariat. It is expected to monitor the utilization of the police budget to ensure compliance with any policy directives or instructions issued by the Minister of Police. So I want to check, ABC, because in the past I know there was a problem with monitoring police budget. Are you now able to do so? And how, if you can just give us an assessment of that. For the last 2 questions then, which have to do with road fatalities. The first one is a question I think I also asked you in the House. I see in your report, you are still referring to the global plan for the decade of road safety of 2011 to 2020. We're already in 2021, in fact, towards the end of 2021. When are you going to have your targets based on the new plan? Because we're still assessing you on the previous one. The good thing is that in the report, you are saying you had a 23% reduction, which is great, other than 10% that was there. But when are you going to start seeing implementing the new one? And lastly, related to traffic, is the issue that has to do with the number of vehicles that you say are registered. I think you said 4.8 million, and that, but your capacity, you even said that it is important that the department revisit the current capacity in the traffic management division. So when are you intending to visit that, and what have you already made an assessment? What will it entail? And I expect that if you do it, you are going to be able to also budget for it. Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry for taking long, but thank you. Those are the questions I have.
Thank you, Member Kanyile. Is there anyone who wants to comment or give the input? If none, MEC, can you respond? Then if you can't respond on some of them, we'll propose something to MEC.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me start with the last question that was asked by Member Kanyile. Gauteng's car population is increasing almost every hour. Let me put it like that. And as part and parcel of our responsibilities, Chair, that's why we're indicating that sometimes we are not able to manage that due to capacity, but working together with the other law enforcement agencies from the metros, Chair, we have a concerted plan to be able to share, but over and above, the work that we do is ongoing. But I must reassure the committee that integrated law enforcement agencies will continuously do the work. But remember, we absorbed about 133 officers in 2020. This year, we also absorbed another 137. So next year, we'll also be absorbing the other ones. So we might be sitting at a very high number of officers that we will be able to have, Chair. Not that we'll ever be able to sort out the capacity issues, but meeting those challenges, Chair, will continuously work on that. On the issue of revenue collection, Chair, of course, we intend to improve on that, but the challenge last year was on the COVID-19, if you recall, Chair, where we were not able to collect as much money as possible. There was lesser cars on the road, which then affected our traffic. Remember, a high-speed unit, trapper, and then if they catch you, then you have to pay, Chair. So as a result, there was lesser car population on the road. As a result, we could not meet some of those targets. And we always escort the soccer teams. And as a result, we're not able to collect that money because remember, there are no sporting activities. And the issue of the pounds, Chair, pounds were also closed in March by MEC Mamabulu. But although that money does not necessarily reflect on our books, but it's money that goes into treasury. As a result, that's why we've got the under collection. It was on high speed, it was on the pounds, and also the escort services that we do, including the abnormal loads that we also doing a Chair. As a result, that is why there was under collection of revenue or affected by what was happening. On the issue of the provincial secretariat, Chair, we are currently busy with the shortlisting of those that have applied. We hope by January we'll have appointed, depending on the interviews. You know, what HR Katagate. I was hoping, remember, Kanyele will be also asking about the director post. We advertised last year, November. Still November again. Those posts are still not yet filled, but already interviews have happened. And we're hoping majority of people that will have made it about interview soon will be giving them the appointment letters. Hey, wahulumeni, kuhanjwa kancane, kusheshwa slow, if I have to put it like that, Chair. On the issue, I've covered the collection of revenue and how we intend to plan, how we plan to collect. Anything that is money related, the CFO, I think, is on call. He'll be able to talk to that. On the issue of monitoring the police budget, Taxita, I'm 100% sure she is also on call because that tool that was sent from National, remember, it goes to the units that actually deal with monitoring. On the plans, on the targets of the new plans, especially traffic, Chief Maisela, I guess, is also on call. On this issue of the new mandate, I'm a new mandate, but team will actually answer on that. HOD is struggling to log on, or the new mandate of monitoring the police budget. Okay, so that will be a Taxita who will actually answer on that. On service delivery plans also, like Member Kanyera was indicating that this is from the 5th administration. Of course, we'll do talk to the current administration and we'll be able to respond to that. Do CFO, can you respond on zonke lezi zikhuluma ngemali? Nande unqualified with findings. What are these findings all about? Why did we regress and be able to and on the audit committee recommendations also speak on that on AXA report? Can you speak on that and do come in?
Thank you very much, MEC, and good day to all the members and all protocol observed. The MEC has already spoken to the issue of the revenue, and therefore I will just speak to the issue of the.
Do camera, please.
Oh, fanele ngippress le button le. Athi sibone. Yeah. Eric,
At least of our
you're on. Can you see me?
You can't see him, do?
Me now was seeing him. Light a footy microphone. The camera. Do.
Yo. Okay.
Press a footy. Besibonile wasuyahamba.
Ngilayitile microphone. I-camera.
I-camera.
Angazi ukuthi fanele.
Mara bowuvelile nje.
I-on i-camera. I can see myself.
You see yourself. Kusho ukuthi uyiphendulele. Asikuboni thina. Continue what?
Do continue it, but we don't see you continue. Do we don't hear you?
Okay.
Do continue. I won't do. We have man.
Chair, can you ask maybe Taxi? MEC can ask, or Chair, can you ask Taxi?
Taxita, meantime, continue. Taxita, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here, MEC. Good afternoon.
Show your face.
MEC, chairperson of the committee and members of the committee and colleagues.
Are you not able to show your face?
I'm not sure if... MEC, I've got a problem with this laptop. The minute I move the cord, then everything shuts off. So I'm just trying to balance the cord and the laptop at the same time. My apologies.
Continue.
Thank you, MEC. On the issue of monitoring the utilization of the police budget, the department and Program 2 did attempt to do it before, but I think now it's going to be a more focused approach to monitoring the police budget together with other provinces. So from where I sit, we are still busy with Civilian Secretariat and looking into how we can do that collectively as well. On the other issue, MEC and chairperson of the committee, is it all right if I respond on Sebeletso's behalf? She's asked me if I can
respond, Taxita, respond.
Okay, thank you, MEC. On the SDIP, Sebeletso is indicated that there was a directive from DPSA that they do not develop a new tool, but continue with the one that was already in use. The new one will be available next year. And so it ties then in with the strategic planning cycle. With respect to records management, that was one of the findings by the AG. It related to GBV matters, where the unit had a challenge in accessing police stations during the unrest in July. However, the department now has its own occurrence book. MEC, I think that is all from my side, except to say for Program 2, that when the targets were adjusted as per the risk adjustment strategy, Program 2 did work hard to achieve those targets. However, there were issues around the fact that we couldn't do, for example, 4 reports as per the original target, so we did 3. And that was for quite a few of the targets on DV, on IPAD recommendations, where for the first time with the lockdown, we were not able to interact with SAPs. It took a while to connect electronically with them, but once we got going, connecting them on Teams with us, the work then began. With social crime prevention and with the CPF assessments and patroller assessments, there was also an issue given the lockdowns that were in place, so we didn't meet those targets. If I may then just end there, MEC and chairperson of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Maisela, are you in?
Greetings, MEC. I've just joined in.
So you did not hear the questions about traffic?
No, I didn't, ma'am.
Chair, through you, is Member Kanyile prepared to just share again those questions on traffic?
Okay, MEC. Member Kanyile, can you repeat those questions for traffic management?
Okay, okay, thank you, Chair. I think there were two issues basically. The first one is I think the MEC responded to it when I asked about the number of vehicles on the road and the capacity to have the number of staff. I think she indicated that there's going to be more staff coming in. But the one that I asked is also the one that I asked, I think, sometime in the House, about them still using the global plan for the decade of road safety for 2011-2020. When it's 2021, if there's no new plan, incorporation of the new plan and an assessment based on the new plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Kanyile.
Chief Maisela, the targets in line with the new targets of the new decade.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MEC and Chairperson, all protocol observed. The new decade of action that ended in 2020 is still going to be assessed and evaluated. And based on that evaluation and what would have happened, we will then develop new targets moving forward. But at this stage, we haven't developed new ones as we are still operating on the old one. Thank you, MEC.
Siyabonga, cimi microphone. Two, are you still missing?
Hello.
Khuluma ke.
Okay, thank you very much. I will respond to the issue here, regression on the audit outcome. So, Member Kanyile, you are right. In the previous financial period, which is 1920, we did get an unqualified audit opinion with there were findings, but there were no material findings. In the financial year 2020-2021, we are audited on 3 areas, which is compliance. Under compliance, there were no findings. Compliance covers your financial statements and your SCM issues, and then there's performance information, which is where there were findings. That's where there were issues of records management. This records management is because this particular target was also dependent on information that we get from the police stations. So what had happened in the current financial period, we have adjusted that particular target so that the information that we need is information that we can control, and then we can be able to access when it comes to audit time. So we are not expecting to find ourselves in a situation where we have record management issues in the current year's audit management issues. I think that's the reason for the regression, and also that's the interventions that we've put in place to ensure that the findings that does not reoccur. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mdu, and the MEC. Thank you and your team. Is there any other follow-up questions, members? If there are none, can we move to 16.2, the presentation on the second quarter report of the Department of Community Safety on the 2021-22 financial year? MEC, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. HOD, are you now stable? Let's continue on the
MEC, am I audible now?
Oh yeah, you are. You are.
I am. All right. Can I continue without the camera? Is that okay?
It's okay. It's okay, HOD.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, and greetings to the committee and the MEC and colleagues. In the department's performance for quarter two, we had 52 targets. For quarter two, there were 44 targets and 34 were achieved, which translates to an overall performance of 77% in terms of the overall department. Program one was at 64%. One of the targets there, and we'll talk about that later, is the issue of the 30-day payment, as well as a report that an in-year monitoring report that we need to adjust our target on. Program two was at 71% last quarter, is at 78% this quarter, and program two was at 90% due to some of the costs having gone for calibration. On the staff establishment, we have 1,753, and the vacancy rate as at the date of reporting was 14.1, which is 1.1% more compared to quarter one, and a total of 135 appointments were made. The posts were created at as follows: 133 on 1st of August, and then 52 posts were created on the 15th of September. So what the committee will see is that our vacancy rate will look like it's at 21.8%, in part because of the increase in the posts that were put in there. Can I have the next slide, please? I thought we'd just have a comparative slide of the information that was just presented. So traffic did not achieve one of its target. But that obviously cost them 10% of their total score, and that's how they went from 100 to 90. And then, of course, Provincial Secretariat has about 5 targets that they need to still achieve. And lastly, an administration, we have about 4 targets, and one of those, of course, will be the issue of vacancy. Can I have the next slide, please? Right. In terms of the highlights, some of the gender-based violence and femicide interventions that have been undertaken have been on young men and GBV sessions, as well as on women's GBV indaba that took place. Can I have the next slide, please? 52 vehicles have passed the testing in terms of the overload control operations in Donkerhoek in particular, and then 37 of them did not make it through, Chair. In terms of issues of payment and revenue, we are working with traffic closely to ensure that the revenue that we generate as a department is able to come to us, whether in part or in whole. Can I have the next slide, please? In terms of just high impact operations that were conducted by all women in law enforcement, of course, that this quarter is part of Women's Month. We had the learner transport issue, and then we had the operations that they're listed there, including a female Ukaimulao operation. You'll know that that's the joint operation, and then of course issues of wellness, spirituality, and others. In terms of the fines, perhaps this also begins to answer the question around revenue generation. We have issued about 1,586 fines, and of course there were vehicles that were discontinued. There was a drunken driving arrest, and also the illegal immigrants that were arrested, about 45 of them. And then of course there were people who were searched, about 1,647, as they appear on that, including issues of confiscation of alcohol. And issues of the shebeen. We had one shebeen that we closed, and then of course there were other people that were trading without a license, and there was an arrest in that regard. And of course there were other pubs and taverns that were visited during the course of that time. There are also illegal liquor outlets that were visited, and those were about 18 of those. Can I have the next slide, please? The total number of quarterly targets in the HOD's office were is 4, and all of them were achieved. The next slide, please. And then in terms of executive support, we have an IGR framework, which is what we had needed to do. We also had our report on the implementation of integrity management plan, and then the risk management strategy implementation that was done. And lastly, we had our monitor report on internal control environment. And the next slide, please. In terms of the CFO's office, as indicated, there were 2 targets there were targets that were not achieved, and there were 3. And why the 2 is the one that the report is actually due 30 days after the quarter closes. And then we will fix this in the 2022-23 APP so that it does not say we haven't achieved every quarter. And the other is a 90-day payment, 30-day payment, 15 in Gauteng, that we are continuously working with managers and also make sure that they're getting consequent management letters regarding their non-compliance to the issues of 30-day payment. That gives us an overall percentage of 40% within the CFO's office. Can I have the next slide, please? In terms of this now is a breakdown of the target that we were not able to achieve and the reasons why. The financial statement that are not available at the time of reporting. And we had also presented to the audit committee and also Gauteng Audit Services to indicate that the target, the way it is phrased, is not achievable. Unfortunately, Treasury was also able to support us in that. So this is the target that we're saying we will rephrase. The interim financial statements are due 30 days after the end of each quarter. So that they will always be due, the quarter one will always be due in quarter 2 and 2 and 3 in that manner. And that's how the Treasury is set up, Chair, and that we will just need to just align our targets so that it doesn't look like a non-achievement when actually it's not aligned in terms of the regulation. Can we just have the next slide, please? In terms of the 90-day, the 30-day payment, Chair, we are continuing to struggle, but consequence management letters have been issued, as well as the consequence management policy has been issued to senior managers who have all signed for it to acknowledge that they're aware of the consequence management policy, so that we can begin to ensure that there's increased compliance in the signing of the RSLO 2s. The MEC has spoken about this earlier. And of course, the issue of the report not being available at the time, and again, this report from the Treasury is usually received 15 days after the reporting period, and of course, we would have closed at the time. So, Chair, we will just align our financial management targets so that we are aligned more to Treasury and rather than our own reporting cycle or the DPME reporting cycle. Can we have the next slide, please? On issues of supply chain, Chair, we just had a report not available at the time on the issues of the deviation, irregular expenditure rather, that it was due 15 days post the quarter. On issues of preferential procurement, we overperformed in that one. There's 55% of procurement spend as per the GPG HDI, the targeted groups, and most of the services were secured from the high risk groups of people, and we thought we'd break it down there to say for gender, age, and disability, we had procurement done with 63% of companies that are owned by women, 44 which are youth, and 5% are persons with disabilities. Can I have the next slide, please? On corporate services, Chair, we've had 2 targets and they achieved 50%. And as indicated in the next slide, we'll see that it is partly due to the filling of vacancies. Can I have the next slide? Our representation at SMS, Chair, just to indicate that, of course, we have 11 females, 8 males, and none with disabilities, or none that have declared that they have disabilities. So, and that is the prerogative of officials whether they want to declare or not. No matter what you see, it is up to the person to declare or not. We have 12 vacancies with total positions at SMS at 31. We're right now at 65%. Disability, we're underachieving, Chair. We're 1.6%. We did ensure that we had a representation of persons with disabilities for senior managers to assist them in and guide in the appointment and awareness raising, and the issues of reasonable accommodation session for persons with disability was held with senior managers so that we can begin to sensitize ourselves on the employment there too. Can I have the next slide, please? Chair, on Provincial Secretariat, they of the 23 targets, 5 of them were not achieved. Can I have the next slide and we'll just clarify it just now? In terms of the quarter, the number of research studies that are conducted, while there's no target set for quarter 2, Chair, it was important that we note progress that is being made in this regard, regarding the terms of reference that are being developed and 5 research instruments that are being developed. We had 3 more knowledge sessions than we had planned. The colleagues have been guided to indicate that they need to redeploy resources to contribute towards underachieved targets rather than overachieving and at the expense of underachieving elsewhere. And then of course the issue of 2 publications that were produced, Chair, that was done. Can I have the next slide, please? And then, of course, in terms of we do have the report on law enforcement agencies' performance. We also have a report that is compiled on the implementation of IPID recommendations, which is important for us to monitor SAPS and their compliance there too. I think we're at 28. We've probably done about 26. We've got 2 outstanding, Chair, from SAPS on those ones, but the report is available. And then, of course, we do have to write on the Domestic Violence Act compliance based on the assessments that are done at the police station, and that was done, as well as a management of service delivery complaints, Chair, of which we had about 140 odd complaints. Can I have the next slide, please? Chair, we had planned to ensure that with the 25 police vehicles that were procured, 15 of the police vehicles, these are from earmarked funds to ensure greater police visibility. These were procured and they were and it got in Q1. The balance of the cars have been delivered. So this was an annual target, Chair, and as at the beginning of November, the rest of the cars were delivered. They just need to be fitted with the blue lights, as well as they need the appropriate branding. And in terms of the mobile police stations, Chair, these ones are in progress. It's work in progress. They are being currently transformed so that the trucks are able to be mobile vehicles. Again, this would be an annual target. Can I have the next slide, please? Chair, it may look like an overachievement in this quarter regarding the crime dockets that were analyzed, but the process of compiling the docket audit is also underway. But some of this was to mitigate some of the cases that we were not able to achieve in Q1, as similarly to the court watching briefs that we had to attend more of them because of the shortfall. And of course, the same in terms of the target that can institute due to increased referrals for rapid response, and this is regarding GBV cases that were tracked within the criminal justice system. So we had more referrals than we had actually planned to have, and once you have a referral, you can't not attend to it, and so that gave us an overachievement in that for that particular target. Can I have the next slide, please? In terms of safety promotion, Chair, we also had 156 instead of 125 for conducting our crime prevention interventions. And we had to risk adjusted strategy to allow for more interaction with the communities. And then, of course, with the schools, Chair, the shortfall of 124 was registered for the quarter, and the performance of this indicator was affected by the April, May, June, yes, July, which was the first month of this quarter, the lockdown, and we needed to just catch up with the balance that we have. And then we had 3,244 victims who were supported, and of course this was to also make up for the shortfall of the last quarter. Chair, in terms of the 36 victim empowerment centers that were monitored, 55 of these centers were monitored due to, again, the high number of GBV victims that were registered. Chair and members of the honorable members of the committee, you will know that as we go into the festive season, and of course 16 days in particular, the increased number of issues of gender-based violence tend to get reported. And of course, the green doors that were needed to be rolled out, we will set out to roll out 9, and we did just that. And then the number of free resource center shelters, we are scheduled for this year to have another replica of Ikaya Letemba, working with GIG for further identification of property that would be most appropriate. Can I have the next slide, please? For safety promotion, Chair, the target was exceeded so that we can cover the shortfall in Q1, where we're training law enforcement officers and healthcare workers on gender-based violence and femicide. The report, Chair, regarding the implementation of the approved provincial response plan, the draft is available. It has to be consulted first, but obviously that then makes that target not achieved, because here we were looking for an approved a report, a response plan, but the draft is in place, and so that target was not achieved. Chair, we have a national target or a target linked to national, which is the issue of the creation of the multi-sectoral committee. And this committee, Chair, we need to align ourselves to the bill. Once the bill has been promulgated and it becomes law for the establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, we will then, as a province, be able to ensure that we too can create our structures aligned to the legislation that will be promulgated. In the meantime, however, terms of reference for the coordination structures are being created, are being developed, and consultations are underway. The provincial strategic plan, Chair, that again, I think here the slight oversight in terms of our writing of the target, because approval is not up to us, it's really up to the EXCO, and so we still need to ensure that we're able to take it through the processes, as well as ensure that the relevant stakeholders in the provincial government, as well as stakeholders in the legislature and civil society organizations are consulted for us to actually have a strategic plan that has greater buy-in. Excuse me. The knowledge hub, Chair, we do have a draft concept, and we'll be working with our knowledge management unit in PS to ensure that we can fast track this, given the delays that we've been experiencing in trying to get a service provider to this end. It will also be a cost saving measure if we can actually work with the internal resources that we have regarding safety promotion. Can we have the next slide, please? On community police relations, Chair, we have 142 police stations. We have 2 additional police stations. Doornkop and Cosmos City police stations were introduced in this financial year, and then the extra assessment was done for the Doornkop precinct. We also, Chair, did not have a target here around the assessments conducted on community safety forums, but given that local government elections were going to take place, we had to mitigate and engage with our MEC to assist in facilitating the engagement of CSFs, community safety forums, and the 3 that were engaged were the ones that were available, so that we can at least ensure that we were on top of these targets. On the 100 assessments to be conducted, Chair, 116 assessments were conducted, and this was extended to other precincts that previously did not have proper functional patrol teams. So we didn't leave them as not compliant, but we certainly went back to them. Can I have the next slide, please? In terms of traffic management, Chair, we've indicated that the non-achievement of one target regarding high speed was what resulted in the 90% instead of 100%. Can we have the next slide, please? Chair, the first one, reckless and negligent driving operations that were conducted, as indicated, this target was exceeded by 10 that were aimed at reducing the increase in fatalities that are caused by reckless and negligent driving. In this target, Chair, the target was not met by 46 because of the speed machines that were being calibrated. We did, however, colleagues, we did have a mitigation here. When we presented to the audit committee. The mitigation that we had put in place here, Chair, again, was to indicate to our traffic colleagues that because you knew that machines were going in for calibration, then you should have increased the number of operations that you're conducting with the less equipment rather than underachieve. So they did need a contingency plan needed to have been put in place for that. But on operations conducted for driving under the influence, it was exceeded by, it says by 2, although 160 is 160, due to the additional operations that were conducted aimed at reducing the increased fatalities in the quarter under review. And Chair, we also exceeded our target on the pedestrian operations that were conducted. This remains a critical challenge, Chair, in that we are constantly needing to work with pedestrians. Pedestrians contribute, the highest number of fatalities on our roads. So it becomes important that we are able to attend to that. But also, Chair, the Gauteng Law Enforcement Agency Forum operational plan is always developed after we have set our targets, and so we then obviously serve as a force multiplier on this one, Chair, and that's the what looks like an overachievement. Can I have the next slide, please? In terms of special services compliance, in terms of inspections, the 47 that were set out were achieved, and the crime prevention operations supporting other law enforcement agencies were conducted as planned. Can I have the next slide, please?
HOD.
What is happening now?
On public transport inspectorate, Chair, the quarterly target was 1,440 years, and the actual achievement was that 1,440. That include taxis, law enforcement operations that were also targeting driver fitness and also checking on operating licenses. On the number of law enforcement operations targeting learner transport that were conducted, the quarterly target is 129. What was achieved is 129. On the percentage of cars that were actually weighed, target was 100%, and the cars that were actually weighed 100%. So this is not a number, my percentage. Nandropa portfolio committee. On road safety promotion, Chair, the quarterly target was on 311. What was achieved is 315. On state of the art command center, Chair, we still not yet are meeting that target because DID and Treasury are the ones that are actually delaying us. That will be the end of the presentation, Chair.
Thanks.
Financial performance. Where are you? Kulmeli financial performance.
Yes, I'm here. I, however, cannot see Elent. I'm using my phone because my laptop is not working when it comes to these things. So I can't see the presentation. I can, however, just. Yeah, I can just.
On financial performance, Chair. Slide number 30 is that the performance is quarterly and year-to-date financial performance.
I can continue, MEC.
On accruals as of the 30th of September, compliance matters, fruitless and wasteful expenditure on 3.3 regular expenditure, item number 4 on revenue, quarterly and year-to-date revenue assessment and the procurement plan, that is number 5. Next slide. As you can see, Chair, on second quarter, the administration, we have so far spent the remainder. What is left is at. Let me go to the last column, Chair. On the remainder of the budget, Chair, we are left with 11%. And then on provincial secretariat, we are sitting at 45%. On traffic management, we are now already at -5%. On economic classification, on compensation of employees, 9% of the budget is actually remaining. On goods and services, 5%. On transfers and subsidy is 94%. On payment of capital assets is -54%, sitting at, including that one, the first presentation, we were sitting at 14%. On explanation, Chair, Program 1 has spent 86% of its estimated budget, and this is attributed to vacant posts. On Provincial Secretariat, Program 2 has spent 55% of its estimated budget. The underspending is attributed to vacant posts. The 58 motor vehicles that were to be delivered and paid in the third and fourth quarter, the conversion of the conversion of the mobile trucks, which are also expected to take delivery now in the third quarter. And then on traffic management, the program 3 has spent almost 105% of its estimated budget, and the overspending is also attributed to GFleet. GFleet has to rail, I must tell you, Chairperson. And Scopa, I don't know, members, Scopa, I don't know how do they fix their rating of on performance year to date, Chair. On administration, we are sitting at 50%. I'll talk to the last column. On provincial secretariat, we are sitting at 38%. On traffic management, we are sitting at 50%. Total will be 48% of how we've spent our money up until now, Chair. On economic classification for compensation of employees, we're sitting at 45%. On goods and services, we're sitting at 60%. On transfers and subsidies, we're sitting at 10%. On payment of capital assets, we're sitting at 52%. Total of performance year to date is sitting at 47%. On the narration, Chair, is that on administration, the program has spent 50% of its appropriated budget. The spending is in line with Treasury guidelines. There are, however, spending pressures such as claims against the state, IT infrastructure, especially in the new building that we've moved in, utilities, and this program is also adequately funded. Any saving will be used to defray excess expenditure, especially with traffic. On provincial secretariat, a program has spent 38% of its appropriated budget, and it is and the budget is the one that was earmarked allocation, and the expenditure will increase in the third quarter when the department receives the delivery of the 58 ordered cars, which already, Chair, they've been delivered. Remember when we were launching the festive season campaign there in Temba Amaskral, those cars were there already. So you actually see the spending patterns in relation to that. The unit is adequately funded. On traffic management, our program has spent 50% of its appropriated budget. There are severe spending pressures in this unit, such as GFleet and also overtime. And 22% of the appropriated budget is the earmarked allocation towards absorption of the traffic officers from those who are contract workers for them to be permanent officers, and the establishment of the command center, and the budget adjustments have to be implemented through a shift variance. Next slide. On financial performance, when it comes to administration, MEC's office, our remaining budget, we are at minus 13%. Office of the HOD, they are at 25%. Office of the CFO at 3%. Corporate services at minus 18%. Legal, they are sitting at 1%. Security, we are sitting at 3%. On economic classification, compensation of employees, 18%. On goods and services, we are at minus 109%. On transfers and subsidies, China's on payment of capital assets, we are sitting at minus 184%. M2 Leana hashtag div.
No, it's just a formula internal problem.
Oh, okay. Next slide. The projected spend on narration, Chair, when we have to narrate the previous slide, is that the projected spending pressures under this program is 7.3 million claim against the department for additional space and parking, 3.7 million for IT infrastructure in the new building, 2.5 million to procure additional laptops, funds to be reprioritized with the program to cover the mentioned above projected expenditure during the main and year-end adjustment budget. And this is the cause of the possible overspending in the corporate support sub-program. Spending will be closely monitored to ensure the program does not spend above its allocated budget. Next slide. On provincial secretariat chair, on program support was sitting at 50%. The remainder of the budget was sitting at 50%. On policy and research was sitting at 34%. On monitoring and evaluation was sitting already at minus 17%. On community empowerment centers was sitting at 3%. On gender-based violence was sitting at on social crime prevention was sitting at minus 8%. On gender-based violence was sitting at 33%. On community police relations was sitting at 40%. On economic classifications, compensation of employment of employees was sitting at 26%. On goods and services was sitting at 27%. On transfers and subsidy was sitting at 99%. Payment for capital assets was sitting at minus 448%. And our total now, we are sitting at 13%, just like with the previous spending patterns was sitting at 13%. On the narration, the program together with human resources are in the process of filling the vacancies. The GPV budget has been realigned to the provincial response plan, which includes the delivery of the cars procured in the third quarter of the financial year, the purchasing of tools and of trade and payment of prepaid stipend, training and upskilling. Next slide. As we continue with the narration, monitoring and evaluation, the police visibility allocation, 35 motor vehicles are expected to be paid in the third or fourth quarter, and the branding and installation of other resources. On community police relations, payment of stipend for the festive season deployment in December and January. On tools of trade for patrollers, including uniform, and the expenditure will be monitored and reported accordingly to ensure allocated budget is spent. The main division of the vote is not anticipated to over expenditure. Next slide. On traffic management, already on traffic management, the remainder of the budget was sitting at minus 4%. Traffic law enforcement were at minus 14%. On public transport, inspectorate was sitting at 5%. On road safety promotion was sitting at 8%. On specialized services, we are at minus 109%. Total, we are sitting at minus 5%. Economic classification, on compensation of employees, we are sitting at 6%. On goods and services, we are at minus 117%. On transfers and subsidies, we are at minus 10. Payment of capital, it's minus 8. Total, we are sitting at minus 5% on the performance. And the narration, next slide. The earmark allocation, which includes to convert the 133 contracted officers to permanent, including in the projected funds and appropriate towards purchase of tools of trade. With regard to G-Fleet and over time, the department will prioritize funds from savings, especially under the compensation of employees. And this expenditure will be monitored and reported accordingly to ensure allocated budget is spent. And this main division of the vote is not anticipating over expenditure. However, monitoring of the budget will also continue on a monthly basis. Next slide. Accruals as of the 31st of September 2021 on goods and services, the less than 30 days, we were sitting at 16,351. At more than 30 days, we're sitting at 10,750. Total, it is 27. Is it a million too?
Yes, ma'am. Those are rounded off to the nearest thousand, so those are millions.
Those are millions. On transfers and subsidies, less than 30 days, we're sitting at 6, and the total becomes 6. On payment for capital assets, less than 30 days, we're sitting at 5,605. and more than 30 days were sitting at 15,785. The total was sitting at 19,386. And the total share combined of all the accruals as of that were less than 30 days were sitting at 21,962. Those that were more than 30 days were sitting at 26 million, and the totals was at 48,493. Next slide. With regard to accrual breakdown, 26.8 million is G-Fleet invoices, 19.9 million is other supplies. Payment of suppliers within 30 days and 15 days. For July, for 30 days, we're sitting at 97%, August 93%, September at 97%. So the total for the second quarter was sitting at 95%. On 15 days, for July, it was 67%, August 70%, on September, it was 50%. So the second quarter in total, invoices that paid within 15 days were sitting at 62%. Next slide. The department, on narration chair, the department has internal control measures in place to improve compliance of ensuring that the suppliers are paid within 30 days. However, failure to achieve 100% is due to the end user not submitting goods, receiving voucher on time. Leana RLSO 2 members at Kanyile, where the department has also failed to pay suppliers due to cash flow constraints, and arrangements will be entered into with the service providers in terms of 8.3.2 of the Treasury regulation. On fruitful and wasteful expenditure, Chair, it is analyzed as follows. On opening balance as of March 2021, we're sitting at 849, and total is actually 849. Challenges or the root causes is that the root causes: payment to incorrect suppliers, payment to employees as a result of due diligence procedures inappropriately conducted during dispute, payment made for storage of assets. On interventions and mitigating controls, will be investigations that are going to be conducted on fruitful and wasteful expenditure incurred for opening balance. No fruitless and wasteful has occurred over the past period under the review. Next slide. On irregular expenditure, Chair, the opening balance is sitting at 79,482,000, and that is our total. And the challenges is that non-compliance with departmental policies and procedures and legislation, and the interventions and the mitigating controls is that controls are being implemented to ensure compliance to Section 38 of the PFMA. Investigations are currently being conducted for an irregular transaction. Applications for condonation has also been sent to Treasury for all the completed investigations. Next slide. On revenue, the budget estimates and is at 351, actual collected 313, which puts us variance is 38, which puts us at 89%. On total revenue appropriated on sales of goods and services is that the adjusted budget is at 1,409. The actual collected was 626. If variance is actually 783, so meaning our percentage is sitting at 44%. On fines, penalties, and forfeits, I'll go to the last column. On the audited outcomes was sitting at 99%, and on the total revenue appropriated was sitting at 49%. On interest, we are not collecting any money. On sales, machinery, also there's nothing. On transaction with financial assets, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth column is that we're sitting at 58% of the audited outcomes. On the total revenue appropriated, we're sitting at 31%. Totals are that with budget estimated at 12,401,000. Actual collection is sitting at 10 million. Variance is 2 million, which actually puts us at 83%. On total revenue appropriated, the adjusted appropriation was 39,596. On actual collected is 16 million. On variance is 23,287. So basically that puts us at 47%. Next slide. On narration, the department has internal control measures in place to improve revenue collection. However, the overall under collection is due to COVID-19 and lockdown regulations. Next slide. On procurement plan, the SCM unit compiled the 2021-22 procurement plan in line with Gauteng Provincial Treasury Circular 3 of 2020, which instructed all Gauteng departments to submit their procured plans to Treasury by 28 February 2021. The procurement plan was also prepared in consultation with all the relevant units in the department. The procurement plan also consists of 16 projects, of which 5 are carried over from previous financial year, and the 11 are new projects. Next slide. On the administration project description, absolute DDS premium theft recovery data collection estimated value is 1 million. Namasenchanyana status, it has been awarded. On traffic management, bulletproof vest, we have estimated an amount of 11,300,000. And the awarded on the awards adjudication committee meeting is actually scheduled to sit on Friday, the 29th. On provincial secretariat, supply and delivery of patroller uniform, the estimated value is at 5,500,000. On the status adjudication committee market committee meeting scheduled for Friday, the 29th. So meaning there's going to be a meeting 829 to look at the supply and delivery of patroller uniform. On GBF coordination, procurement of vehicles to donate to SAPS to an estimated value of 7 million that has actually been awarded. So on provincial secretariat chair, I did indicate that the procurement of 45 police vehicles already it has 15 of them have been delivered. So we are since delivery was on provincial secretariat, also on tetra radios estimated at 2.5 million. Evaluation committee scheduled. It was scheduled for November. We take it that that has been done. On provincial secretariat for mobile police stations, that has actually been awarded. On procurement of laptops to the value of 1.9, users wants to change units to be ordered, project to be presented to BSC. On provincial secretariat, the payment of stipends to the patroller specification was approved for advertisement. Traffic management, mobile e-bet, on status is that the bid specification committee meeting scheduled for Wednesday, the 27th October. So I take it that it has met, and we might have an outcome that is better there. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC and the HOD, for the presentation of the second quarter report of the department. Members, I will take hands for comment and clarity seeking question. While I'm noting the hands, Honorable Member Kanyile, I'm noting the hand. While I'm noting the hand, MEC, I need a clarity in terms of the green.
You got cut, Chair. We don't know. Check green. Chair,
Yes.
repeat again.
I'm saying that in the green doors, what is the achievement? Is it 4 or 9? You will respond to that. Member Kanyile?
9.
Member Kanyile?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, MEC. I think I should start by congratulating the MEC. I realize that he's really hands-on on the work that's happening in the department. Because at the time when there was breakdown in communication, she was able to take over. And I think even in the presentation, you can sense that she's talking about something that she knows. So I thought I should just congratulate her for that. Obviously, when you speak a lot, some words you don't use properly. So there's something called fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I heard she saying fruitful and wasteful. By the time that you'll correct later, I mean, it's just as you speak for a long time, something slip your mind. Now, Chair, I think at some stage we must move to where we don't just talk about targets achieved and not achieved, but also get a sense of what is the impact of these targets on service delivery. In the representation, you could see the impact on finances. Sometimes there's underspending. And I would suspect that the problem with a civilian secretariat, the fact that a lot of positions are not filled, that's why even there's underspending because some programs might not be undertaken. The good thing we must congratulate the department now, HOD, is that you are no longer reporting. When I say you, I'm just saying as the department, I'm not saying you as a person. You are no longer giving us this report that says targets partially achieved, because we don't know what is a partially achieved target. It's either achieved or not achieved. But thank you very much. There's clarity there now that it's either achieved or not achieved. It's interesting, Chair, that the department is promising us that they are now looking at another Ikayale Temba. You know that there's been this promise several years and then there was nothing. So if we can get a sense, by when do they want to establish this? I won't ask where because maybe places might change. There's something that arose in the report when we're looking at the annual report, but I think it's arising now. There's clarity I need to get because I thought it's something else earlier. This provincial coordination of gender-based violence and femicide, is it on behalf of national or is it on behalf of province? If I can just get clarity there, because the department says is a provincial code, is playing a role of provincial coordination of gender-based violence and femicide. Now, I want to request, Chair, the same thing I requested earlier. You know, these studies that are conducted by the department, these research papers they produce, at some stage, I think the last time, we found them to be very useful. And so maybe we should have an agreement with the department that at some stage they will be able to take us through. The problem is if you say, let them give them to us, I know we might not read some of them. So it's better if we are briefed properly on them. The issue of the irregular expenditure by the department is that what is clear is that there is an amount of about 79 million which keeps on being an opening balance, and it's clear, I mean, that is from previous years or past years. And they have said that they've submitted to Gauteng Provincial Treasury for condonation. This was part of the report in the annual report, which is now almost how many months ago? 9 months or 10 months? Oh no, 7, 8 months ago. I just want to see if there's progress there, because even in the second quarter, they still say they've submitted to Treasury for coordination. Is there a problem with Treasury approving coordination, or what is happening, so that if there's a problem, maybe there's intervention that's needed there? The other thing, Chair, is there was an announcement that was made by the Premier that there's going to be about 100 patrollers. I hope I've got it right when I say patrollers, but there's some 100 people that were going to be appointed per ward. I think the number was 100, if I'm correct. Or is it 10? I think it was 10. How far are we with that, Honorable MEC? That I think the number was 10, but you'll correct me if I'm wrong. The last two issues, Chair, is that the Auditor General has indicated to us that with your watch in brief, I think that's how you call it, where you go to court and follow up on cases and everything. There seems to be just people going there, but there's no guidelines or there's no template that is followed. I'm not sure if it is true. Are you able, MEC, not today, maybe at some stage, to present to us what is that template? When they are there, what do they do? What exactly are they looking at? Is there such a template? And my last question, Chair, is not based on the annual report, on what you've reported, but it's based on the question I asked about impact and also what the PC had said earlier. You know, these abductions that are happening, I saw a report, I think 2-3 days ago last week, that says it looks like they are mainly concentrated in Kempton Park and Tembisa. I know that the department is not responsible for policing, but for oversight on police. Is there a strategy that the department is discussing with the police around this new phenomenon? Some people are saying it's not new, it's just because it's now being reported. But I think it's something that maybe the department should be able to look at as well. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Member Kanyile. Is there any other question or comment? If none, MEC, over to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Member Kanyile, for the questions. And on the green door, Chair, we are, Daxita, are we sitting on the, I think we are, I'm sure of 4 that have actually been opened, Chair. But we intend to meet the target because they are there. The difference is that we had cancelled opening them due to the type of work that we were doing in the past 2 months, Chairperson. We were only able, so there are those that are still outstanding. The impact on service delivery, Member Kanyile, there is impact because out of the work that we do, majority of the work, you recall that we work with the SAPS, but ours is also to liaise with the communities. And as a result, you do see the difference, and we also engage with communities to make them aware that if it happens that we have opened a case and there's no follow-up on your case, that is when we have established even that number 071, so that then we are able to be assisted there. On the GPV coordination, we are coordinating provincially as the department.
Chair, do you mind if I can clarify something to the MEC?
No, you can clarify.
Yeah. MEC, I wasn't talking about impact general. I was saying where you haven't met the target. Those targets that you haven't met, what is the impact on service delivery? I think that about general work, the impact aspect is different, but I'm saying you might find that there's a target you didn't achieve. Has that had a negative impact? What was the impact of that on service delivery? That's the question I was asking really.
Oh, of course, Chair, it has had a negative impact because if you did not deliver a service to people, people were actually expecting that type of service to be delivered to them. But if you have not done it, Chair, obviously it does have a negative impact, including the outcomes of what is supposed to happen there. On the GPV coordination, we are coordinating on behalf of the province. So meaning on behalf of the provincial government. It's us as the Department of Community Safety that are actually the coordinators. But because everything is us that do it, national also, liaises directly with us. So meaning sikhulumela on behalf of the province, but we're in a department. So no other department does communicate, but everything gets referred to us. And even national, when they want interaction, they want reports, they want what, they actually come to us direct as the Department of Community Safety. But in all, we are coordinating on behalf of the provincial government. On research papers, Chair, we note we'll share them with maybe one of the days the portfolio committee can set out a day specifically, Chair. In fact, I was thinking as the PC was presenting, especially on that impact of timber, Chair, maybe through your committee, just do an FIS on the impact of cases that come from Northwest, because I had also commissioned that study, Chair, to check exactly where are these cases coming, so that then the team that is continuously auditing the dockets, they must be able to say, I'm a case where it was a Gauteng Angaga, and those that actually come from Northwest are this number, so that then it tells us exactly, is it fair for timber to still remain number one, and what causes timber to still remain number one? Is it cases that come from us or cases that come from the other province? But now, Chair, through your committee, there's no harm in you actually commissioning an FIS on determining exactly what actually causes this high number of so these research papers, Chair, will actually share them with the committee. So hopefully the committee will be able to set a day aside and we share with them. The other interesting one was the impact on GBV, Chair. That why people do not report cases and what is there. I'm just making an example, but it's there within those research papers. What was interesting coming out of it, Chair, is that as much as people are not satisfied with the work of the police, but if you ask them, will you recommend somebody to go and open a case? The answer was yes. Because the who going in there last a reporter corner, but we have to go to the police. So that those research papers, Chair, I'm sure they can be worth sharing with yourselves. On the issue of the community patrollers, Chair, in fact, we tomorrow and Thursday, as we're having the Exco Lekgotla, we are going to propose that we increase the numbers because the 10 community patrollers per ward are not sufficient. The wards are vast. In the past week in Jia alone, we've been engaging communities of Rockspruit and Kangala and in the Refilwe. And we discovered, Chair, that those 10 patrollers are not sufficient as part of the force multiplier to assist when it comes to fighting crime in those areas. So we're going to propose to EXCO that we increase the numbers so that then each and every ward, in line with the policing precinct, does get more of those patrollers. And with the introduction of the community in blue, we're hoping that more and more of these patrollers will actually be recruited because there is people seem to be excited and they want the majority wanting to join. But I must say, Chair, majority it is women. They are not joining in large numbers, this community in blue and the community patrollers. So hopingly they might also develop the interest in there. Can you answer this one of the 79 million irregular expenditure? And what actually cost it? And on the court watching briefs, Daxit, I'm not sure if you'll be able to assist there, if there are guidelines and templates. I guess bafike bahlale lapha na chairperson balalela amacala. But we do come in on the 79 million.
Thank you, MEC. On the 79 million, yes, it is a irregular expenditure that resulted in the previous financial period. So What is required here is that there should be an investigation done, and then a report is out with recommendations. So the reports that have been completed, we have implemented the recommendations, and then we've sent to Treasury. So there is a committee that has been set up at Treasury, run by the under the control of the Provincial Accountant General. So last week we had a meeting with them, and then they told us that they had actually recommended that the amounts that we have submitted should be condoned. However, the PAG has since reversed that particular decision. The main problem is that the reports are speaking about fruitless and wasteful expenditure and unauthorized expenditure, but we actually never incurred those in the years when the irregular expenditure was reported. So now, apparently, what needs to happen is the report itself that was issued, and at the time when it was done, it was given an outside service provider. So now that report needs to be changed, and don't talk about fruitless and wasteful expenditure or unauthorized expenditure. Just speak to irregular expenditure, and then only then they can be able to condone our irregular expenditure. So, Member Kanyile, to answer you there, yes, there is a problem with regards to the reports that are the basis of this condonation. The wording that was used by the investigators seems to suggest things that did not happen in those particular years. If you can remember, the department itself there hasn't been any unauthorized expenditure in the past 7 years or so. So for the report to say that there was there was unauthorized expenditure is actually not correct, and this is something that we've written to the to Treasury about, and but it is something that we are in conversations with the office of the PAG to try and see if we cannot speed up the issue of condonation. So, yeah. As a response to your question, yeah, there is a problem, and the problem is with the investigation reports that has been produced by the service providers that were hired by Treasury to do the investigation, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mdu.
Taxita.
Thank you, MEC, and thank you, Chairperson of the committee. If I can then just answer on the watching briefs. We undertook the watching briefs after a benchmarking exercise in the Western Cape. However, the AG found that the tools were not good enough. And what we've done in this financial year is to revise the tools and those and the templates as well. And we are currently using them for the watching briefs. Thank you.
The last one that Member Kanyile was talking about on the issue of abductions. We're actually doing outreach work, Chair, in educating, especially women, because the people who get abducted are mainly women. And as you know, it's as if there's a syndicate. Some of them, they end up using them in lolly lounges and dragging them and using them as prostitutes. So in the outreach work that we also do, Chair, through the WASP, which is Women as Safety Promoters, they've got various programs that go and interact and talk to young women. We are currently, through sponsors, of course, getting amamemeza alarms, so that if a person finds herself in a situation whereby she feels dangerous, then they'll be able to utilize that memeza. So we also are looking for other partners. I mean, you can have something in your purse or whatever that gets attached to you. Various technologies are available. And I'm an app, Chair, I must say, I mean, it takes longer for a person to be able to reach your phone. But we're trying to find other mechanisms that can be able to be of assistance. So if the committee also does know of some of the people that can actually assist and partner with us in ensuring that women are protected, or they have a device that they can activate when they get abducted or they feel they are not safe, like how the Memeza alarms actually started inserting when they were rolled out at first in Diepsloot. And some households also do have the Memeza alarm in the house, where when it rings, it actually they are able to call, Amapoisa are able to respond to that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks, MEC, for and your team for responding on the questions which were raised by the members. Is there any follow-up, members, or is there any question which members need to ask or point of clarification? If there are none, thanks the MEC for and your team for preparing for the committee. We are appreciating what you are doing with your team, and we also take some of the things which you raised, especially the issue of the FIS on the gender-based violence, on the issue of Amanskral, and we'll also support Member Kanyile will have to come with a date for the department to come and present on their publication on the research. Maybe those publications will be able to assist us on some of the issues. Thanks for that. We are moving to agenda point number 18, which is the date of the next meeting and adjournment. Honorable members, the next meeting will be on the 2nd of December, where we will be engaging on the public hearing on the Community Safety Oversight Bill. Therefore, we'll request that members attend, as well as the department be part of us on that particular engagement of the public hearing. Let me thank everyone for attending the meeting and
Chair,
giving the yes.
but
Member,
that is not our bill. Bill yakabo Shackleton.
Yes, I know, member. I know.
Manje ngafuna siphendule ini lesingayazi.
Angithi sizolalela na MEC.
Silalela ini, Chairperson? We already have these things in place.
So that it should not be taken. Democrats.
Hayi, yabo Shackleton epane babambela amabhebhe.
MEC disrupt meeting wethu.
Hayi, ngiyazi ningibizela uqhubu ngempela ngazani nale bill.
Ngithi disrupt meeting wethu, MEC. You'll be fined. You'll be fined no 800 rand.
Yeah, thanks. I was saying that thanks for the department, the MEC, and the team to attend, and also members of the committee for their efforts of preparing for the presentations, for the input on the presentations which were done to the committee since in the morning. Thank you for attending. See you on the 2nd of December.
Thank you very
much.
Yes, thanks. Mara, HOD, when a camera, how usually we don't see you. You must check it, ne? Please. Otherwise, member Kanyile will fight with us.
Live streaming has stopped.
Mike,
Hi, Lindy.
thank you very much.
Okay, Lindy, can I shut down here then?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you, Lindy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mike. Bye.